Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Blake. How you doing?
We are good. What do you got?
Fantastic. So the police have confirmed that they have charged Mr. Brian Welcome with murder in the weekend incident where a man was ran over by a vehicle.
Yeah.
So sad.
Tragic.
Yeah. It's shocking. And as more and more details emerge, you kind of question, is this real? So anyway, they have charged him. And
what kind of details are you?
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. But basically, there seems like it was some sort of a chase involved with the two parties. So it wasn't something that just happened like there in that moment on the spur. It was like, oh, it started at this location, and then they both drove to where his warehouses were located. So there was time in between that you would think parties would be able to cool off. And cool down, and that just didn't happen. And obviously it was a very, very deliberate act. Ran over him multiple times, and then left the scene close by, went and parked his car somewhere else, came back, and then was kicking the guy after running him over as he lay there, no doubt dying. So it's just, like I said, they do have CCTV footage.
Are you kidding me?
At the warehouses, so they pretty much caught it all on CCTV footage.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And they've also named the young man as Mr. Omar Ryan. So pretty sad situation. The police are also warning the public against assaulting police officers. They're reminding the public that obviously that's an offense.
Why do you need to be reminded of that?
I know. It's just, yeah. So they said they've had some recent incidents, the first being by Public Beach on July the 1st, where persons were damaging property. And when officers intervened, a male and a female officer were attacked by another man who was not directly involved in the incident. And they have subsequently arrested him on suspicion of assaulting police. And he was later bailed pending further investigation.
Wow.
There was also two more incidents that took place on July 5th in Northside and the 9th of July in the East End. Both were of a domestic nature, where officers were assaulted by persons involved in the calls for service that they were responding to. So pretty crazy. I guess in a way it's kind of in the line of duty. But of course the police, Chief Superintendent Mr. Brad Ebanks is reminding the public that any violence against officers executing their lawful duties will be prosecuted. And if convicted, a person could face a fine of up to $5,000 or imprisonment for 2 years, imprisonment for 2 years, or both. So it's pretty dangerous, pretty serious offense. So yeah, let's try not to do that. Crazy.
Good idea.
Yes. 37 Haitian nationals arrived in Jamaica, a little dinky boat, and they included children, 24 men, 5 women, 5 girls, and 3 boys. They are obviously leaving Haiti because of ongoing violence and harsh economic struggles. And we'll see what happened. But they arrived along the Boston Beach in Portland around 1:40 yesterday afternoon. And now they have to be processed. So I don't know. They said they're going to provide them with some housing and medical attention. And then I don't know what their procedure is, whether they just send them back, if they can apply for some sort of an asylum. But this is the first time that they've had such numbers in quite a while. So pretty interesting.
All right.
Yeah. So we've got CUC on the show today. For those of you who want to learn a bit more about your bills and what's going on there, come on down.
Why the electric bills are so high?
Yeah. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Sounds
So
great.
we've got Ms. Nichelle, who's the director of communications there at CUC. She is joining us, and we're actually going to go through in good detail. She's a director of customer service and external communication. So we're going to be pulling up bills and looking at all the details and just making sure that everyone understands their bills and how they can try to save some money.
And you can call in with some questions?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. All right, we'll catch you on Bobo 89.1 FM, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday headlines.
Have a good one.
You too.
All righty. All right, folks. That's right. You can call in with your questions. Let's get ready. Let's grab some links. Sit back. We got less than a minute left. Relax. Coming right to you.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning, beautiful people. I'm told that today is Wednesday, July the 12th. Is that right, Michelle? Hump Day Wednesday is here. Why not? I'm here for it. Love a good hump day. I love every day. Listen, every day that you are alive and breathing and kicking and you can walk and you don't have any major disabilities, what is there to really complain about? I think we need not complain, honey chill. I'm here for it. Attitude of gratitude. Oh, yes, honey chill. All right. Well, let's see who else is here and grateful with me. We got Miss Vernita in the house, Diamond Princess. Maislin, good morning to you. How are you, my dear? So good to see you. Denise Everton is here. Miss Alice. He says I'm the third person in class. Shall you be so late you don't even know? I mean, you're not late, but no, there were other people before you, my love. Felicia, Chico, Leroy. He says he's going to sit in the back today. First Lady Jayanne Marshall is here from North Carolina representing. Miss Bonnie from East End. Svetlana. Am I getting your name right? Such a beautiful name. It's very unusual, actually. Do you have any like Russian family or Ukrainian family that might have given you that name? Leroy says it's been hot the past week, like in the hundreds. Woo, honey, chill. Olivia Cameron says, listen, yeah, now we believe in, Cameron, try and behave. I have the strap under her desk and I try to behave. I don't believe in corporal punishment anymore, Cameron. I believe we can punish you in other ways, but we're not going to be strapping you, chill. No rulers across the thumb. Miss Morna says, I'm not first, but I'm here. That counts. You're on time, just on time. Good morning, Miss Iva. Irvelyn is here. Wee. Nez, how you doing? Oh, that's my friend Sandy. Look at Sandy. Look at you, girl. Gareth, happy Wednesday. We've got Yasmin. Miss Alba saying buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Dorothy is here. Irvin says you beat me to it. Leroy beat you this time. Exie, hello, beautiful Exie. And Miss Dorothy says good morning to the listening public. Everybody say good morning to each other. We are family here, folks. Fam. CMR family, nothing like it in the world, honey. They got your back as long as you're doing the right thing now. You can't be doing anything bad and expect we're going to have your back. Let me tell y'all something. Sometimes I get a nugget of news and I'd be so shocked. I'd be like, what? Even me gets shocked by certain things. So last night, someone, this guy, Keith Barnes Jr., that was finally arrested, somebody told me who his mommy is. And I was like, what? That his mommy? No. Oh my God. I'm sorry to say, I'm surprised in a way. And then I'm also a little bit like, wow. The apple never fall far from that tree, perhaps. What a hot mess. I can't. I didn't even know she had children, to be honest, but now it kind of making a little bit more sense in terms of why he bad with money and why he trying to live above his means. And sometimes we be passing on our bad habits to our children. Not sometimes, 99.99999% of the time, because they see you as an example of what to do. And, they're following suit. What a hot mess. No, sir. How do y'all love my beautiful water jug this morning? Not really a jug, but my water. What do we call these? I don't know. My water. Isn't it beautiful? Love the colors. This was a Walmart purchase last time I went to Miami. I got two colors. This one and one's like a burgundy. And it has kind of like the fading colors. I love it. It's just so pretty. I'm a girl, so we love pretty stuff. Mr. Good Look, are you good looking? Why you picked a name like Mr. Good Look? Just making my morning swanky because I know it's gonna get bitter on here today. Oh, why the negativity, Mr. Good Look? We're sweet around here. We're not bitter, darling. We love it sweet. Thank you, Miss Iva. She says she loves the top today. Let me pull up this bra strap. If you ever watch my show, I know you guys be like, Sandy, can't you ever fix your bra strap? I got to tell y'all why. I'm always pulling it up. Ladies, if you wear brasiers, like most of us have to, because you're well endowed in that section, that some work better than others in terms of holding things together. And some perhaps are more comfortable. Most women don't like underwire. This one is not underwire, but it is very, very firm in its grip. But the problem why this shoulder, I actually have scoliosis. So the problem why this shoulder is always like falling off and stuff is because of the scoliosis, because there's curvature in my spine. So I guess if you really looked at me, you'd see that this side, I think it's just the right side, is more down because of how the curvature works. And so that's why the bra strap on this side is always falling out. Everywhere I go, people are always like pushing it out for me. I don't even notice it anymore, to be honest. It's kind of like a subconscious thing. I'm like, whatever. But when I do notice it on the screen, I try to make certain adjustments if I can. But the other way to adjust it, which isn't always comfortable, is to actually permanently adjust the strap so that the strap on this side is actually a different adjustment than on this side. So that kind of compensates. The things that women have to go through, I tell you. But thank you, Miss Iva. I think I've worn this on the show before, but who knows? I just go in my closet and I just pull out a shirt. Most days I wear a shirt, not dresses on here. I have tons of dresses that most of them don't get worn on a daily. I don't know why. I tend to wear more pants now than ever. And occasionally I'll throw on a skirt. But shortage of clothes is not an issue around here. Believe me, I got so many pairs of black pants. And there's like only 3 or 4 pairs that I really want to wear all the time. But when you see another pair, you're like, that would be ideal for this sort of an occasion. And, black is very, very slimming. So it makes you look better. And you always have an excuse why you need one more pair of black pants. And God knows you don't really need another pair of black pants. Cameron says nothing should surprise you these days, child. I know it shouldn't, but it still does. Leroy says, I'm not messing with Auntie Sandy. I know her finger near the block button no matter who. I guess, Leroy, you would have seen this weekend that I had the pleasure of blocking my own sister on Facebook, on CMR's Facebook page. The irony of that situation is, let me tell my designer something here. Yeah, the irony of that situation really is that she had been blocked on my personal page for a very, very long time. I think for years, actually. But she always finds a way to finagle her way back in. She gets a new number. And, the other numbers that you've blocked, all of a sudden she's messaging from a new number. Oh, Lord. I can have the patience of Job sometimes. I really, really can. I mean, I can ignore a lot. But I'm also the kind of person that once I've had enough, trust me, then you don't want to be in my way, because that's it. I'm done. So what really transpired, because I know a few of you are like, well, Sandy, why did you block her? I was like, really? So she was blocked in my personal life. And then what she continued to do last week was incessantly message me. You guys remember Carmelie was featured last week with being stabbed up by some woman over some man. Totally not worth it, believe me, you. And so, she's trying to blame everybody else as usual for her problems. Oh, you must pick the what's that saying? Pick the sty out of your eye first. And I said to her, you know what is really sad? No one is sitting here on this program or anywhere else feigning perfection. We all know that we're a little bit crazy. We're a little bit screwed up, and we have done things in the past that we're not proud of. But you know what the difference is? What I told her, I said, you know what the difference between me and you and even your other sister? Of course, she was going in on her middle sister. Oh, I don't know what she called in for. She's been divorced too. Well, as far as I know, she's only had the one divorce. But, she's not a number 5. Okay, it might not be 6, but it's still 5. Whatever. These people. But I'm like, you're kind of missing the forest for the trees. The point is, everybody else is trying to do better. You don't seem to be giving no effort whatsoever. You're talking about you in the church, but I see very little effort going on there because you're still going on with the same shenanigans out in the streets. And I think what it is with her is she has this expectation that she can do whatever and say whatever, and that you'll just continue to entertain her. Remember when cousin Damien said, yeah, we'll fight today and by tomorrow we're the best of friends and we're hugging up and whatever. I think that's her expectation, because y'all know she was calling Damien tomorrow. Oh, we going to bingo tonight? On Friday, after you just cussed out the man and you and the sister just had a stabbing up incident. The next day you're like, oh, let's go to bingo. I was like, huh? See, I don't get that level of dysfunctionality. I got to be honest with you. I really can't operate in a chaotic home or personal environment. I had the good fortune of my father, despite his many, many flaws, not a perfect man, but he saw the necessity to get me out of this environment and came in. And I do have to thank him. Like I said, despite whatever shortcomings he may have, that was really a game changer for me. Getting away from it, seeing that there is something else other than chaos in your life. And so, although part of my job is a little bit chaotic and we get into all kind of sus in the community, when it comes to my personal space, my relationships, and even my friends, I hate messiness with the people close to me. That's why I keep that list as short as possible. Yeah? Because y'all think I have a lot of patience. But when I do lose my patience, it's just not a good situation. So I don't even like to get to that point, where we have to be fighting and cussing and going on. I'm really not that kind of person. In my personal relationships, like boyfriends, husbands, whatever, I'm not into the fighting business. And if I feel like you're always trying to pick a fight with me or we're always arguing about something, I'm like, listen, let's just part our ways. I had one relationship like that with a Spaniard, a Colombian. Jesus, I don't even know what I was doing with this person. Sometimes you look back and you're like, ugh, what does the Bible say about being equally yoked? That was a perfect example of where the yoking just wasn't cajoking. Like it just wasn't meshing. Right. And you got to know, this is, you got to learn these lessons very, very quickly in life. Don't downstep yourself just because you like someone. You're like, oh, he's cute and I like him. And, y'all, when you get the sex involved, that kind of messes with your mind. Even when it's not really good, y'all still be like, oh, it's so wonderful. No, it's not. Listen to me, folks. Listen to me, young ladies in particular. Don't let anybody bring you down to any level. You got to elevate yourself. And one thing I noticed with this person, he liked to fight a lot. Like he would say something to me just to elicit a reaction. And I would sit there and look at him very, very calmly, honey child, because I go into this like super calm zone. And then he'd be like, well, aren't you upset about that? And I'm like, no. Why? My last girlfriend would have been throwing pots and pans. And then I'm like, It's so interesting that you expect that. And you seem to somehow at some level enjoy that type of chaos. The day that I realized it wasn't going to work is the day I had a conversation with his sister. Y'all got to have conversations with family members of people you think you want to be in a relationship with, because the family says a lot. And I recognized in that moment when the family said, well, the sister's like, well, this is what we do. We fight and we go on and blah, 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 blah. And then we're going to make up, and the makeup is the best part. I was like, yeah, y'all crazy. And that did not last much longer. Thank you, Jesus. He would say, oh, you think you're better than me. And I'm like, you don't want to come to my place because I got cockroaches. I was like, yeah, I ain't friends with cockroaches. I ain't hanging out with them. That's just not my vibe. I'm not having a cockroach party. And well, this is all I can afford. Well, good for you. You'll have to visit me because I ain't coming to visit you. Because I ain't sitting down in nobody's house and have no flying cockroaches up in my damn face. Hell to the no. And when you like, oh no, I can't deal with it. Oh, you think you're better than people? I'm like, because I refuse to shake hands with a cockroach? Because that's just not my vibe? Like, what the heck? Are y'all for real? Oh, honey child, keep the standards high. Raise and elevate yourself, and don't be making these people, they want you to feel like they try to guilt trip you into like, oh, nope. Don't be guilt tripping me, honey child. I'm not for it. I am just not for it. No, sir. Lord Jesus. Anyway, so she kept going on and on, messaging me and saying things. Somebody, they want to say something directly to you, but it's so horrible that they try to come back like, oh, I really care about you and I don't want anybody to hurt you, when it's like them saying that they're going to hurt you if they don't get their way. Like that's really what they want to say. So I decided I simply wasn't going to engage anymore. So I blocked her again on WhatsApp. Please do not get a new number and message me. Okay. I blocked her on the CMR page. That's a permanent block. We don't unblock you once you're blocked. You block for good. So she will no longer be here in the comment section making any comments. I guess technically I haven't blocked her from the show phone, but that's don't come if she decides to call in. That's how I am. When I'm done with you, washing my hands, honey child. We are finito. We're done. There's no need for any sort of engagement whatsoever. Now, I know some of y'all think it's really harsh, but you have to recognize that I don't care. It's for my peace of mind. You understand what I'm saying? You live your life. You do you. You'll be perfectly fine without me. And trust me, I'll be better than fine without you. This is the approach you got to take sometimes with people. As small as Cayman is. Now, does that mean if I see her at the grocery store at the street, I'm not going to say hi? No, I'm not petty like that. I'll say hello and keep it moving. We ain't going to be exchanging any recipes. You're still not coming to my house. I'm definitely not coming to yours. We're not going to be hanging out. We're not going to be walking the dogs together. None of that. Just for your own sanity and peace of mind, put barriers between you and people. Even if, folks, they are family members, you have that right? You can control the chaos or lack thereof in your life. Choose to live as chaos-free as you possibly can. The world is chaotic enough. So that's why Leroy was joking about he know I'll block anybody. He's like, oh, if you block your sister, you better believe it. I'll block anybody. Good morning, Deania. How are you? Oh, she says she has a question for CUC. Where's my bill? Girl, most people be like, shh, don't ask. But you know you guys still got to pay it, right? She's like, listen, I don't want them to be doubling up on me because I still got to pay that bill no matter what. I feel you, girl. Make sure you get the bill. That's so interesting and funny at the same time. We'll ask, where's your bill? All right, Miss Morna says your name is on the bottom. On the bottom of what? She said, let her, Cameron says, let her block you next week. You can be Delroy Goldstein and come back to class. You know, I know that there's some people who be trying to create these fake accounts and stuff, especially on YouTube. And, you know, I guess some people like to be incognito, but when I find out that you're creating a fake account just to be trolling people and stuff, you get blocked real quick. And after a while, you run out of options. Like there's only so many email addresses you can set up to create a fake account to have access to CMR. Irvin says a bra is the worst kind of garment to wear. Is it really? I mean, I know as women, when we get home, we'd be ready to take them off, honey child, and just be like, freedom. But I mean, you know, you get used to it. I'm not too bothered by most of them. You know, sometimes I find a really good fit, like one that I really, really love, and then I pull out the underwire because I don't like underwire. You know, sometimes you got the ones with the underwire. Have you ever pulled out the underwire on purpose? Like you make a little slit on the side and you just yank it out. Mr. Amelia's here. Good morning, Mr. Amelia. No. Cameron says you're really a saint, Sandy. I'm actually not. Garrett says I have a lot of patience. I am nowhere near sainthood. Trust me, I'm really not. I can be super naughty in different ways. Sometimes being naughty is nice. But, you know, I think you just have to be, there's like a level of honesty. Like the people around me, like my friends in my circle, they know the naughty me and they know what they kind of get with it. But I'm not like crazy naughty. Like you guys know, I don't really drink and I don't get sloppy, like drunk and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not fighting in the streets. Like that's just not, I'm just like, no, that's just not me. Do I use profanity, for example? Some of y'all be like, oh, Sandy, that's so naughty. Yes, I do. I use, you know, it was funny because there was a time that I didn't. And my aunt would probably be doing somersaults in her grave if she ever heard me say anything. My husband doesn't like to hear me use profanity. So in his presence, I try not to do it. Just out of his, you know, just respect and wishes. But yeah, you get me with certain friends and it does kind of come out, to be honest. And yeah, it is what it is. Cameron says, I'll take the needle out of my eye and juke you with it. Stop talking foolishness, Rania. Cameron, your sense of humor is like next level. I got to find out what you drink in the mornings. Evelyn says she doesn't like the drama either. Cameron says a sound and peaceful mind is the worst to bring justification for confusion. Cherish is sound and solid mind. I'm going to say they should go hand in hand. Ms. Vernita says family or no family. If you're toxic, I don't need you around. I'd rather die and starve than to have toxic or mean, selfish, wicked people around me. I'm with you 1,000%. Leanna, good morning. How are you, darling? KK says, I don't need to get no wording from no family member. I seek him out, and if S gets crazy, I'll deal with it and the family after. Hot mess. Good morning, Miss Olive. Val is here. Says, wouldn't have him around me if he thinks cockroaches are okay to live with. Yuck. Lord Jesus. If y'all know me, I mean, I might have more than one phobia, but cockroaches is definitely at the top of the list. I don't want to see them dead or alive. I don't want them in my space. Listen, no. I can't even tell y'all the experience I had in Jamaica with cockroaches. Oh my God. My poor little heart can't take it. KK says that some family members would lie Jesus off the cross. That's the other thing as well, why she also got blocked, is she decided to send around this voice note where she told a pretty nasty lie on me. And, people ultimately can and will say whatever they want. But I'm like, if you're trying to joke at me and you can't even do so honestly, I think that speaks to the strength of your argument. Just doesn't exist. And it's really nasty, I think, in this day and age, because you know how viral voice notes can go. When you decide to put something that's completely false and untrue in a voice note, and then you send that around to a ton of people. And I had to do my own voice note saying, hey, that's not true. This is the correct position. And, I don't like to get into that back and forth with people. Like I said, I'm really not here for that type of drama. So, Leanna, we're going to talk about your bill here in a second. We've got Nichelle Scott, who's going to be joining us. She's waiting in the back room. Diamond Princess said that I once heard that blood is thicker than your mental health. Is not thicker. Oh, sorry, I misread that. I once heard that blood is not thicker than your mental health. Oh, yes. I was going to say, huh? But no, absolutely. Listen, I don't care what y'all want to say about this or how you think. Yes, you're family to people. You can't choose your family. But you can choose whether or not you engage with them and at what level. That's your choice. And your mental health and your peace of mind actually does matter. So maybe it's because of the fact that I have spent time away from my family. So I'm not like super close with them in any event. Like it doesn't really hurt my feelings to cut her off, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I would feel the same way if I like grew up with her and we were like hanging out every day kind of thing. I think I would, because just knowing my personality, it would hurt more, because it really doesn't hurt blocking her, to be honest. So maybe it would hurt more, but the necessity to do it would still be very, very much there. And I think I'm still the kind of person who would block her in any event. But it just doesn't hurt my feelings because we're not really, tight like that. And so people try to create an illusion of, oh, I love you. And, you're my favorite sister. I could give two hoots about that. You have to treat people with respect. And that really is the bottom line. Truthfulness and respect. So morning to Darren. We're going to get to your CUC question. So let me just pin that one. Elsa's here. Cameron says, quote of the day, naughty is nice. The new murder case, he has been charged. So the police announced yesterday that he has been charged. Lots of people have been giving me bits and pieces of information. I think at this point, we wait until the court case begins. It's going to be a minute, trust me. It's unfortunate to hear that after he ran over this guy multiple times, he drove off somewhere, parked his car, came back, and actually went and kicked the guy as he was literally dying. I'm sure he was dying. To me, that says something about his mindset that is very, very disturbing. So Alejandro, morning. Great Britain, hello. Theophilus, how are you? Good to see you. Miss Dorothy says you can't please everyone. If you didn't block her, some would be saying that you should. And sorry, Miss Dorothy. To be clear, I'm actually not here to please anybody. I know sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but I'm not here to please anyone. This is about, that's a personal choice really, and who I'm going to block. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. I mean, look, we blocked Jonathan. I know a lot of y'all are like, oh no, Sandy, don't block Jonathan. Oh my gosh. But look at how much more peaceful our morning discussions have been without Jonathan. I mean, y'all might not have noticed, but Jonathan was actually bringing a lot of chaos to this morning show. I mean, he was always in the comment section. If you have to comment 60 times or even 25 times during a show, you might have a little bit of a problem. So y'all need to, pull it back a little bit. And then that wasn't really even what the real issue was. He was starting to get disrespectful with people, especially my guests. And I can't have y'all being disrespectful. So here's the thing. We've got Nichelle Scott in. We're going to go ahead and pull her in now from Caribbean Utilities Companies. She's the director of customer services and external communications, right? We always have a rule here that you have to be respectful to our guests. I don't care whether you like CUC, don't like CUC, you're indifferent to CUC, whatever. Nichelle is a member of our community. She's a Caymanian professional. She works very, very hard at her job. You know, you may not like everything she says, or you may not agree with everything she says, but at the same time, I don't allow you guys to disrespect our guests. And Alejandro talking about poor Johnny. He was really crossing the line, and I gave him one warning. And y'all should know me by now. If I issue a warning saying, hey, you need to stop doing that because you're on the verge now of getting blocked, don't try me because you will get blocked. And on that note, let's welcome the beautiful Nichelle Scott. Hello, Nichelle. Now I'm going to give you some advice this morning before we even get started.
I know what you're going to say.
That window behind
This is where my
you.
computer is, and I have a whole wall of windows. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Is there
not a you can't pull down a blind or anything?
That is with the blind.
That's with the blind? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Girl, if I was working at CUC, I'm going to tell you that's not an energy efficient room. Too much light coming into that room.
I don't think I'm south facing, so I'm okay. How is that?
Yes, that's better. It just blows you out having that super white background and
I
stuff.
was trying to have an angelic halo, you know?
Yes. So listen, Nichelle has been on the program before. I don't think she really requires any introduction, but how long have you been with CUC now, Nichelle? It's been a long time.
I think 16 years now.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, I like that CUC actually is a good company to work for. I think a lot of people would love to work there. I think, I see sometimes they're advertising positions and they're like good jobs. The salary is really good. And you guys seem to treat people. I know you're not in charge of HR, but I'm just saying you guys seem to really treat people well. Like people don't tend to want to leave CUC once they come. Now I know that since I've seen you last, you guys have lost some of your family members. I know you consider your coworkers family. And so I want to, first of all, before we get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here, just extend my condolences to you and all of the CUC team on those tragic losses.
Thank you so much, Sandy. That's really appreciated.
Yeah. We know it's tough. But listen, you guys are in the line of fire yet again. And I got to give you some props and some credit for right away saying, listen, we're here. We're coming on the show. We want to address people's questions. We want to talk about it. I think that requires a degree of just gumption, like you're not running and hiding in the corner and pretending like you're not seeing the complaints that are out there. And so some people are very, very vocal about the increase in their bills. And you know what? After I put out, we've been talking about it here in the program since Monday, talked about it a little bit yesterday. I've had so many people message me to say, well, my bill went down. And I kind of chuckled to myself because I'm like, here's the irony of it. Say 40% of the people had an increase, 60% stayed the same or went down. The 60%, although they're in the majority, they're not the ones who are going to get on social media and say, look, my bill went down by $200 or whatever. Can I tell you something? This lady posted in the Women in Cayman group about her $1,900 bill, almost $2,000. I think that's multiple months and she never said that, but whatever. Somebody else posted a really, really good post about these are all of the things that I've done, and I actually saw a decrease in my bill. So when I went back to read that on the show, I couldn't find the comment. And the person DM'd me and said, I took it down because I don't want CUC to do that and then find a reason to increase my bill.
No.
And I was like,
oh, no.
So tell me something. Is CUC out there trolling people on social media? And if they say I had a decrease in my bill, are you guys like little trolls doing something with the meters to increase it if someone had a decrease? What's going on?
No, I will say though that we do monitor social media. We see the comments. We see the feedback. So, that's why we're here. For example, like that's why I'm here this morning, because we know there are concerns. We know there are questions. So, but we don't adjust the bills. The bills are purely about your consumption. And that's something we've been doing because we recognize it's not something that's visible. It's not tangible. It's really hard for you to find a way to be like, okay, well, let me just fix this and this will stop it. It's hard to do that when you can't see what is consuming the electricity.
Right. And, the last time I think you were on here, we talked about some of the tools, and you might be getting into them again this morning in your slides that will help you to see what you are consuming. But I'm even flabbergasted, to be honest, Nichelle, that people complain about their bills. And I have a challenge out there, and I'm going to maintain this challenge. I got some money to give away. It's your anniversary month. We just celebrated our 6th anniversary. So I'm giving anybody who can show me their last 2 bills that had an increase and they're unhappy and they're complaining, to show me their usage and show me where your usage has decreased, but your bill has increased. $150 I will pay towards your CUC bill. So the challenge is still out there. I told Miss Sue, she hasn't gotten back to me yet, go look at your bill. And she's like, oh, I haven't checked the usage. How can you even think about complaining about your CUC bill? Let's look at this, right? As an example, how do you complain about your CUC bill if you don't even know what your usage is? Like, how is that possible? Like, to me, Nichelle, this just makes me go, huh? Like, let's look at this person. This person sent it in when I was having the conversation. And they said, Sandy, this is my usage. As we can see, their usage in June went down.
That's impressive because June was really hot.
Yes.
Really hot. So they made some significant efforts. And one of the comments that we see a lot, Sandy, is, oh, I went on vacation and my bill went up. So I will say that one of the things we find out a lot when we ask customers questions, we say, well, did you leave the air conditioning on? Well, they're like, yes.
Wow. So they were cooling an empty house.
Gone away. Correct. It's cooling an empty house. So you're still going to have a higher bill if that AC is on constantly while no one is there, right? Yeah. So there are a couple little things that, and it's just a matter of knowledge, right? There are things that people don't realize, and I've had to educate myself on it so that we can share it with the public. And so it's just a matter of learning what impacts your overall consumption. And
this is this person's bill. Yeah. And when you ask questions like, okay, what's your square footage? Like, there's so many questions and so many factors that can impact your bill. Mm-hmm. This is me here, and I went down as well between May and June, but I was actually away for like a week in June. So to me, this makes sense for a week of like less usage, basically. But listen, I'm the first to say, look at my usage from June of last year. I'm still down from last year. And look at July. July last year was a heavy use month for me. So, I accept that I'm actually very much on the higher end of things. Like, I'm a high-end user, and I still don't have a $2,000 bill.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot. We'll get into all the details here, folks, but I think there's a lot that people can do. Now, before you came in, we had a question from, oh gosh, let me see who that was, that said she didn't get her bill. So let's address some of these kind of little things. If someone doesn't receive a bill, let me try to find that message again. Yes. Diania, I think that's how her name is pronounced, Marie, says that she hasn't gotten her bill.
Okay.
So who can she contact, or anybody who's listening who doesn't get a bill?
They can contact service@cuc.ky, or she can sign up for My CUC, where your bills always load online every month. In fact, some of my friends prefer it because they say it loads on there before it's even emailed, and they're correct because that's basically the record system. But she can just email service@cuc.ky and ask for someone to resend it. Now, sometimes what happens is that an email provider may change their settings, and all of a sudden, even though you've been receiving our bills consistently, all of a sudden that email provider starts blocking. We had that issue with Yahoo. We've had that issue with I can't remember one other provider, and we had to make changes behind the scenes and actually reach out to the providers to say, hey, what changed, please let us know. And then we also have to tell our customers, make us a safe sender, basically go in there and say, don't put this to junk. Yeah. Sometimes these things happen in email. I've noticed last 2 days for some bizarre reason.
I'm not getting some of my emails in my inbox. Like I'm seeing them because I actually have a preview app where I can reject emails to reduce spam and stuff. I'm seeing them there, but then they weren't coming in my inbox, which was kind of weird. So I've had my web guy looking at that. But these things happen. You know, for the last month, I wasn't able to send to Gmail for some reason. I had to contact my provider for some change to be made. So if you don't get your bill, folks, just to be clear, you can contact CUC directly by email. Or, as Nichelle said, the best option is maybe to sign up for their online service where you can always go there and have a look at your bill as well. All right, so Leroy is talking about timers. We're going to talk about some of the very, very specific things that you can do. Vanessa, I'm curious about this. Vanessa says that hers went up by $100, but she knows why. So Vanessa, we're curious. Why did it go up? What were you doing this month? How useful are timers? I mean, timers you can put on things like a hot water tank, which I think hot water tanks are a complete waste of time. Listen, if you have a traditional hot water tank, right? Basically, what happens is that self-heats itself every so often, and nobody's using the hot water. It's just ridiculous. Get yourself a tankless water heater. That means that they don't store any water. And the only time they activate is when you turn it on and you request the water to be warm. Other than that, you're not wasting, but if you can't afford to replace that, it's still working good, because sometimes you want to wait till something stops working before you replace it for economic reasons. That makes good sense. However, the money that you're wasting on an appliance being inefficient can be costing you a lot of money. So the alternative is to get a timer. And I think they sell them at all the hardware stores. Put a timer on it where you can set it, you know what? Only heat this water at 6 o'clock in the morning from like 6 to 8 or whatever period of time that you take your showers, and you're going to want some warm water.
And if you have a pool as well, your pool pump should be on a timer. So Sandy, we were, when we last visited, we talked about the fact that we were doing this audit program. We were using the Emporia. You mentioned you have it, and we said, hey, anyone can actually access the Emporia. And what we found, top users, that's AC. I'll say it over and over again. Air conditioning is 50% or more. It's typically like 60. And pool pumps. So a lot of time, pool pumps, people that do have pools, they're running constantly. If you're on a strata and you're managing that and you're trying to get that cost down, that's a big one as well. So in regards to timers, it really depends on the appliance. So for example, you don't want to put a timer on your gaming computer, which is also a really big energy user. I don't know about anyone else. I have a teenager at home who is basically on his gaming computer like constantly, unless I make him stop, and he wants to auto click. So it's on even when he's not sitting there. That actually uses a lot of energy as well. But timers for items like water heater, your pool pump, anything that you can actually control that flow can work. Yeah. And smart thermostats for your air conditioning.
Wow. Okay.
Been asking about the bills jumping in June. I'd shared an image with you, Sandy. It's like slide 4.
Yeah, let's go through some of the slides. And we do have someone who has sent me their bill, and I do want us to dissect some of these as well. So this person says that they think that their usage went down, but their bill still went up. But I need to see, hold on, they've sent me their bill. So I'm going to just have a little look while we're analyzing this. No, you're not paying more. So, okay. So I think this person was going to take me up on my challenge, but listen, I'm not going to part with $150 so easy. Now, I'm going to be looking at the details, because I was about to say, I owe you $150. No, I don't, honey child. Let me break it down now. So, they had their last bill was $302, right? Your current bill is $265. So your bill has gone down along with your usage. Here's the other thing you got to pay attention to, folks. This is why I always say, look, the devil is in the details. What do you think? Anybody can guess. I got a Foster's gift certificate. if you can have a look at why this person might be paying a little bit more, I want you to think about the reasons, because I want y'all to start putting your thinking cap on about why that could possibly be the case. Well, you actually had an overpayment. I'm just going to give you guys the answer on this one. She actually had an overpayment on her bill. So I'm not trying to disclose her information, so I'm purposely cropping out all that stuff. But she actually had an overpayment on the last bill. So the last bill was $302.94. She actually had an overpayment. She paid $350. So she had a credit of $47.06. So that credit was applied.
But her last bill amount was $302 and her current charges are $312. So something looks a little off there. I'll take a look because the consumption you said
because if she had a credit, where's the credit being applied? Oh, the credit is being applied to the 312.
Correct.
Bring it down to 265. Oh, that's why she has. Okay.
But what's missing from that display is her deposit interest as well, if she has any. I'm not.
This could be one of those that requires, and it didn't fluctuate by much, to be honest, right? So 943 kilowatts versus 932. It's almost the same, but it is down slightly.
Take a look for sure.
Yeah. So this one looks interesting. I'm gonna have her send the previous month's bill. Okay. Well, I'm gonna send this to you because she said last month she paid $302. This month it was $312. Again, not a significant difference.
Can you show the bottom piece, please? The piece that shows the number of days she was billed for each month.
Oh, is that on here?
It's below the dollar amount. So
hold on. Let me have a look now.
Where the kilowatt hours are.
Okay, so below the she was billed for 30 days.
And what was she billed for the prior month?
That's a good question. Let me ask. So it's either going to be 30 or 31 days.
I don't know. But yeah, so but it's still the consumption. I'd like to take a look at this one to get understanding.
All right, let's see if we can find out how many days, because that really does matter then, for sure.
But really, what should matter is the total kilowatt hour consumption multiplied by the rates. So I need to see in totality what's going on.
Okay. All right. So last time it was from April the 30th to the May 31st. It was 31 days. And her kilowatt consumed was 943 at 0.1235. And then the new bill is 30 days, 932 kilowatts at 0.128. So
the fuel cost has gone down to the 0.178, right?
It's gone down to 0.128. Oh, sorry, the fuel cost, that was the energy, sorry. Fuel is no, that's fuel duty. Fuel is 0.178 versus 0.191. It's the fuel cost.
Yeah, but it should have gone down. So that's why if she's getting 0.191 and going, well, I don't want to take.
Yeah, I'll send these to you and you can look at hers a little bit closer.
Yeah, because if she's going from 0.19 to 0.17, there should be a decrease. So let me have a look, please.
Yeah, I'll send you those and you can examine those a little bit closer. But this is why, take your time, folks, and actually look at your bill. You might pick up on something that isn't right. But just looking at the total, I think my point really is just looking at the total amount is not how you do it. Okay? The devil is in the details. All right. So Gareth says that it should decrease during the winter months because the AC would run less if it's set at the same temperature. And that's very much true. All right, let's go through some of your slides here, Nichelle. Summer's here. First of all, this is the hottest recorded summer on record. I think we need to pause for a minute and understand what that means, even in terms of our energy consumption. I got to tell you, at night, last night my daughter said it's hot and the AC was set where it's always set, but it really is hot and it feels hotter. And so I'm finding that at night I'm automatically dropping the AC lower because the temperatures are higher.
Well, I learned something interesting while I was doing my research on air conditioners. And I learned that they basically say if you lower the indoor temperature to be beyond 15 degrees from what is outside, air conditioner stops being efficient. It basically can't cool much more than 15 degrees difference. And we've been seeing outdoor temperatures of, as high as 98 in the high at 90s, so that has been, when you think about that, work that backwards, right? You're looking at 85, 83, 82 in terms of where.
Wait a minute. Let me understand what it is that you just said to me. If you are, okay, say that again, because my brain is trying to process what you've just said. Your air conditioning can only cool within a 15-degree temperature difference of what? Say what?
So basically they're saying so let's use 100 degrees for an example, right? If you try to cool inside for anything more than 15 degrees less than what it is outside, you're looking at your air conditioning basically kind of stalling and just running constantly, because beyond that it gets to be inefficient for the air conditioner to try to cool beyond that. So they call it the 15-degree difference. Yeah, that was new to me. I've just been doing a lot of reading, trying to share my knowledge, and yeah. So you're looking at your air conditioner getting less efficient as you get to the 15 degrees.
Wow. Okay. That certainly, if you let that sink in, that says a lot. So dropping it down to 60 when it's like 100 degrees outside probably isn't going to matter.
That means your air conditioner is probably on non-stop, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's not probably cooling beyond a certain level. You check that thermostat, it's probably still saying 78 degrees.
Yes.
Because it can't go any cooler than that. It's working really hard.
Wow. Blackberry has a question. She says, running your AC all the time at the same temperature versus turning it off while out, say, just using it in the evenings, does either method make a significant difference? We've had this question before.
Yes, so it does make a significant difference. And it really also depends on your house, but for the most part, turning your air conditioner off will lead to greater savings. So it makes more sense to turn it off when you're out and then turn it back on when you're in, and keep it no lower than 78 degrees when you are home. Now, I've had feedback from customers saying, well, that leads to mold. What leads potentially is if you have an oversized air conditioner and it works really hard to cool really quickly, and then that leads to condensation. So it's all about also making sure you have the right size air conditioner and you're getting it serviced and checked. You're getting that pan drained. All of those elements go together. But in terms of cost, turning it off is what makes the biggest difference. Leaving it on, especially if it's the same temperature that you use while you're living in there, is not ideal. If you don't want to turn it off because you're worried about the mold situation, turn it up to 89, 90 degrees. That's still keeping it cooler than outside. And that helps to kind of regulate the temperature. But definitely don't leave it at the same temperature all day long. Please, please, please don't do that unless there's someone there that you need to do that for.
All All right. So good advice. Just turn it off when it's not in use. Okay. Cameron says we grew up without AC and hot water and bills still out of control. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I did not grow up without AC and without water. I'm not gonna front, I'm not gonna lie. I am not that kind of person who can take cold showers. Sorry, but not sorry. So, every time I go to Jamaica and they're like, oh, look at these beautiful cold showers. I'm like, what? Hot water, please. Miss Dorothy is watching us from Florida. Ingrid says, I'm a CUC Connect warrior. It works amazing at keeping track. Is that in one of her slides? Because I do want to go through.
It is.
Okay.
Sandy, so I was looking at the ones that you sent me on in terms of the builds. Could you share those two side by side again, but without showing the customers information?
Yeah. All right. Let me hold on. I think I didn't all right, hold on one second. Let me grab the
because the current charges on this one looks different. Maybe I was seeing it incorrectly, but it looks like it's going from 322 to 312. So the bill did go down.
Yeah, I think the credits is where she seems to always be overpaying. So there's like a balance being brought forward.
Yeah, but her current charges went from $322 in May to $312 in June.
So it did go down.
Yeah,
you know what I think it is? Okay, I think she's looking at, and I probably made the same mistake.
It's because we were looking at the balance brought forward. So the last bill amount does not equate to the last amount charged.
Okay.
It equals the last balance on that bill, which included her overpayment. So we were only looking at the balance brought forward on the last bill amount. But if you look, if you show the two bills side by side, it went from 322.
All right, hold on. I'm just hiding her I'm hiding her address. So give me 1 second. I don't want to compromise who this customer is. So I'm going to yep, I think I did that right. Hold on 1 second. Let me just save this one. And then we can, so this one is the May bill. All right, so let's pull this one up. Hold up 1 second here. Okay.
But you know what? Kudos to her for overpaying each time, just trying to make sure.
Yes. All right, so that's May. So break it down for us so we can.
Where it says total current charges at $322.89. That is the May bill. So her total due is being impacted by her credit balance forward of $19.
Okay. Yes. All right. So her total there was $322.89. Okay. All right. Now hold on. Let me just get this other bit here. Oh no. Hold on. Somehow I've managed to forgotten how I did the other one. Hold on. I think I'm getting it. No, still not that one. Hold on.
That's okay. I know you're trying to not share her.
I'm like, what feature did I just use?
Or her name, and that's there.
I know. All right, so let me see. I think it's this bit here. Oh, yes. Okay, so we can hide her address this way. All right, perfect. Okay. So, all righty. Let me save this one, and then we're going to look at the new bill. So this is the June bill. All right. And so now June, I can't do side by side quite on the fly, but this is June. So the total for June is 312.
Yep.
May was 322. So it is cheaper.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
admittedly, not significantly because her consumption is very, very, very
about the same.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the credit where it says balance brought forward, that credit up at the top, that gets reduced after between the 322 and the 302. That's where that difference is.
That's right.
I see. Okay. I think that's what I was looking at, the wrong number there as
Well,
well.
we were looking at the last bill amount at the very
Yeah.
top and thinking that was,
322
but
versus
then
312.
realized that there was a credit balance on the previous bill as well. And that's what
Yeah.
was throwing us off.
Uh-huh. So she did go down. Okay.
Yeah, she did go
See,
down. But she has a consistent credit balance. So kudos to you for trying to ensure that your credit history is always excellent. So that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that one is explained. Okay. We're solving mysteries here today, Jam. Okay, very good. Let me see, Miss Dorothy. So let's go through the slides because we want to talk about things like the Connect Warrior and how that can be helpful as a monitoring tool. So the one of the driving costs, a significant driver on your bill, is the actual fuel costs. So I'm not showing it here, but my bill, I was saying this yesterday, some $500 of my $700 bill is actually fuel factor. That's the fuel.
Yeah. And that's why we are, Sasha's come on quite a few times to talk about how we're working towards utility scale solar. The regulator has talked about issuing a request for proposal. I don't know if the public is clear, but the regulator has to issue a request for proposals, and then we can submit, because it is a competitive process. I think the public's always saying, well, there should be competition, but it is a competitive process for us to submit a bid on doing utility scale solar. So that's one of the reasons we're waiting to do that. We're waiting for the regulator to give us the go ahead. And we know that will help to offset these fuel costs. Have a lot of diesel engines. So we are working to try to have more solar on the grid, but you will see July's fuel cost is going to be 16.7 cents versus the 17.8 in June. So your customers will see a decrease again in July in terms of the fuel cost. But I really, really, really want everyone to understand that July is hotter than June. So if you can skip forward to outdoor temperature, which is 2 slides forward. There is a slide that shows what the typical temperature is like outside in Cayman. So you see this, so the yellows, we're all happy. We've got what we call our Christmas breeze. We've got our windows open. I hope you all have your windows open. Like, let's enjoy that breeze. The orange months, May, it's really starting to ramp up. June, so that's why we're hearing so many people saying, oh my goodness, I thought May was bad, June is worse. Yeah, July is actually when it starts to peak. So between July and September, those tend to battle it out for our hottest months. And if you see over on the side, we're at 86. We're at 86 degrees for June and 84 for May.
And so what traditionally tends to be the hottest month of the year? Is it July or August?
It's typically September.
September. What?
Yeah, but people actually don't see it as much in their bills, especially if they have a family where they're so we hear less complaints from families because their children are back in school. So typically the higher consumption is June, July, August. We're more July and August. June is because everyone is still remembering, what summer heat does to consumption. So it's like, oh my goodness, I forgot how powerful the summer is on our air conditioning load. And so everyone starts adjusting again in terms of managing that consumption, right?
Yes. Let's look at some questions about the heat, child. Juliet says, hi, Sandra. It's so hot outside that almost all of my wood blinds look like sea waves. So to help with keeping the house cool, I'm going to tint my windows. Now, window tinting, Juliet, believe it or not, is a great idea. I've done it. When we first moved into this house, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, look, I love this house. And, I didn't realize at the time how many windows this house has. It has a lot of windows. But when we moved in, the one in particular, this is so random and so weird, but we bought this, energy tint, and it's also security film, everything into one. But the one window that I had to double up on, so double, cover it, was actually the front door. It wasn't even a window. It's the front door that has that window panel in it.
That's interesting.
We had it tinted. And it's still, you couldn't sit down in the living room and watch TV because the glare was so bad from the sun coming in. And that means direct heat in that room. So we had to tint it a second time. And I thought to myself, you see, when you're building a house and you're thinking about, what kind of door to get, what kind of windows to get, these are the aesthetic things. Like you think, oh, this door is pretty. Don't always go with pretty, go with practical. Because if there was no window panes at all in that door, that's less heat that's able to directly penetrate.
But we like sunshine too.
Sorry.
Right? We also like sunshine. We like bright, airy houses, right? So it's just about making sure that we choose the direction where you can let the light in without also letting in significant heat.
Even things about what direction when you're building, if you are building, what direction to put your house is also really, really important. But we've got a caller in the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, and to the panel.
How are you?
Good enough. Blessings,
Yes, absolutely.
I have to agree and disagree at the same time.
Okay.
The turning off of the AC, if you can afford it, just keep it on, because like your baseboards, your blinds and stuff, they will warp the caulking that they probably use between the baseboards and stuff with the heat, it expands and travels very cool. So if you can keep it moderate, in that sense, I say keep the AC on. Then again, if you can afford it, with some of the building material, you turn your AC off. By the time you reach home, you will feel like you're in a furnace. The AC, if you turn the AC on when you come back home, what will happen? Your AC will sometimes double, quadruple the work time period. Just try to cool the building wall. And that will take you like probably early in the morning before you even go to bed. You feel the wall will still have that tremendous heat. Your panel, yes, I agree and then disagree. It depends on the building material, and if you some people say they use foam, your ceiling will have moles, this and that. It depends on what product or material they use, but it does work. It does work. You pay it. It will pay it off in the long run. That you will live comfortable. People must rise up, man, and even to why save some money instead of going and party every day, so you can get that money.
Yes, for sure. Appreciate that call. Thank you so much, sir. Cameron says the devil's in the details of everything. Well, yes, it does matter. Lavana says, I had on both the AC and fan and I woke up sweating. And no, it's not menopause. It was just too hot. So everybody's feeling the heat. Even Miss Morna says it's so hot that at night you can put your hands on the wall and you can feel the heat that packs into your walls. Very hot. It's concrete. I mean, this is a construction company, so Nichelle, you may not know this, but let's say you're thinking about building or purchasing a house. Is it better to have concrete walls versus sheetrock? Like, which one is a better conduit for heat?
Well, so a couple of things. I want to address the caller. The caller is correct, but if you're coming home to a furnace, it means your house is not properly insulated, and that's very concerning. That means your AC is working twice as hard when it is on. So I'm just going to put that out there. Secondly, as it relates to concrete walls versus sheetrock, it depends on how you use it. Obviously, I lived in a much older house before the one I have now, and the builder had concrete walls, and on the inside had put sheetrock on the inside over the exterior concrete walls to act as insulation. Right? But the concrete walls do tend to, the same way with tiles, it holds the coolness. Whereas, if it's a purely sheetrock, it doesn't hold the coolness as much, right? Obviously, I'm no expert, but that's on the basics.
Yeah. So Blackberry says my windows are tinted and it helps significantly as well. Yeah. Like I was saying, I didn't even think about it until when we started to kind of get settled in this house. I'm like, wow, every single room has a window. Some have multiple windows. That's a lot of windows. And it really did make a difference for sure. So Blackberry, having experienced that herself. Venice says that insulation is the key to having a cooler house. Also keeps keep the AC filters clean.
Yes.
Yeah. So properly servicing your AC units is very, very important. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Hello.
When you're talking about energy, there are competing interests.
There are.
One is you want your house to stay there after a hurricane.
Well,
So
yes.
It needs to be concrete, right?
Okay.
And then secondly, you want to be able to afford your electricity bill.
Yes.
Well, how do you do those two things? By having proper insulation. People put foam on the outside. One of the problems of putting foam on the outside is that woodpeckers put holes in it all the time.
Yes.
Oh, honey child. Now you're talking to me.
So one way you can get the best of both worlds is put the foam on the inside instead of the outside.
Put foam on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, in other words, you put in what you would normally do is you'd lay the foam onto the wall on the outside, but you could also put it on the inside, because what is causing heat is that when the sun strikes the concrete, the heat is absorbed. And if you don't have insulation on the inside of your wall, then when the sun sets, that the temperature in the room is different is now cooler than the temperature in the wall. The heat is going to leave the wall and go into your room. But if you have the installation on the inside of the wall, you keep as much heat outside of your living space as possible. So yes, there's no way to get around the fact that you need to have good installation. So that's where you're at. You're going to spend your money on energy keeping the room cool, or you're going to spend some money on insulation and in the long run save because you're burning less energy.
Okay. This age-old question, Denny, about whether or not it's better to turn things off when they're not in use, like the AC, for example, when you're not home, versus keeping it at a higher temperature. What has your research found? Because Sophia says turning it off and on now makes your bill go up because it takes more energy to cool the house out again. I find when I come home, I turn it on at 77. When I leave in the morning, I put it at 79.
Well, that is because you don't have proper insulation. But if you did have proper insulation, the differences would be less. Because what you're trying to do is, if you're going to cool a place to move a temperature, let's say 10 degrees difference, right? It's that hot and you need to cool it down by 10 degrees. Well, if you had insulation, would the difference be as much as 10 degrees or would it be less? And if it's going to be less, then obviously it's going to take less energy to cool the place. So leaving it on, yes, will cost more, even if you had a perfect situation where you had perfect installation. Running the AC for 4 hours versus running it for 2 hours is going to cost you more. Right?
Yeah.
But having said all of that, I don't turn my AC off at all. I'm home a lot. And
thanks, Denny.
I keep it at a reasonable temperature.
Okay.
It's not 60 degrees. No. So it's just comfortable.
I turn mine off when I'm not here. I'm like, what am I cooling a house for? I just turn it off.
Yeah.
Me too.
I don't find that it takes that long to cool down in any event when I get home. So I turn it off during the day. Yeah. Most days even sometimes I'm here, I find that I don't necessarily need it, so I turn it off.
And if it does take a while to cool down, you can use a smart thermostat and have it set up to turn on about like an hour and a half
before you get home.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly at home, so it's
right. That's right. That's
someone is
right.
if someone is going out to work, then obviously yes, turn it off. But I'm mostly at home, so that's
fair.
What I
That's
do.
All right. So I've got to thank you so much, Denny. We appreciate it.
And one
Yes.
more thing. You see how you were talking about tinting the windows?
Yes.
The reason why that's important is the same reason why the walls get hot. When the sun comes through the window and strikes the tile absorbs the heat until the sun sets, and then it begins to radiate heat, heating the room. So it's the same problem.
All right. Thanks. We appreciate it. According to McGowan's Heating and Air Conditioning Company, they say they're going to try to answer this age-old question for us. Does it use less money to turn your AC off? And they say, first of all, it's important to dispel the myth that your AC will have to work so hard to cool your home back down that it ends up costing more to shut down your air conditioning. So they're saying that that's a myth. They said that simply is not how AC systems work. Your AC runs at the same speed regardless of what temperature it is. To cool your home down more, it simply runs a little bit longer. That means that if you left your AC on all day, it would switch on and off frequently to maintain a cool temperature. Meanwhile, if you only turn it on in the evenings, it will run steadily for a few hours instead of switching on and off several times. Ultimately, the time spent turning on and off adds up. Your AC will eventually run longer overall if it is left on all day instead of being shut off. If you turn it off for part of the day, it runs less and results in more energy savings for you. So take it from the AC experts, McGowan's. Basically, they're saying turning it off saves you money. And the myth that it has to work harder is just that it's a myth.
Yep, there's an article on Good Housekeeping as well, Sandy, if customers want to go and research it, that basically says the same thing. And I don't know if you remember, but Good Housekeeping got its roots from testing appliances. That's where the magazine actually came from. So there's a good article on that same topic that speaks in a very detailed manner, that saying turning it off does lead to decreased energy consumption.
And here's an interesting thing in this article, which I had to shake my head at. They say that in almost all cases, it will save you money to shut your AC off when you're away from home. However, some cities charge more for electricity used during peak hours, which is usually between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. What?
Yep. So there's actually a reason for that. So, for example, for us, when the most electricity is used by Grand Cayman, it's actually around 6 or 7 p.m. That's when the offices are still on, but people are still going home and turning on their lights and turning on their air conditioners. And so you have this duplication of load, so to speak, because the offices are still very much functioning. So that's when our company is producing the most electricity. So to try to manage that, a lot of electricity companies will say, well, during this time, it costs the most for electricity because it also costs us the most, right? And that gives a price signal. So customers try to use less electricity during that time. And that leads to it being easier for the electricity company to manage how much the electricity they have to produce at that specific time. The load times differ for each location.
Well, look at that. The things that you learn every single day. I had no idea there are places in the world that would charge me more depending on the time of day.
Yep. And I noticed Vanessa still had a question, I think, on the bill. So I don't know if afterwards we can post the two snippets side by side without the personal details, so that everyone can kind of view those on their own.
Yeah. Okay. We got another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you and everybody that's listening, your panel.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
The question that I have is, where is the benefit for the customer And I'll explain the reason why I asked the question. Based on what you guys are talking about now, especially what they're saying about the times of day that the energy is costing more. And versus they say keep your air conditioned clean and service. The air condition companies are saying minimum, not maximum, minimum $175 every so often to service your air conditions. So where price up on air conditioning, price up, where is the benefit for the customer?
Benefit to do what? When you say,
as far as a savings to the customer, or a customer seeing where they can continue some kind of normalcy in with the hot months and trying to keep more cooler in the hot months and stuff, versus the whole year round where you're spending, just say for example, if your bill is at $600 each month, where is the benefit for you as far as the customer, as far as to paying the high cost of maintaining your air condition versus paying the high cost of the monthly bill? I mean, I think that there should be balance out there, because they're saying that, you know, if you service your air condition properly, the bill not to be so high. But then that's not, I don't see where that kind of being true either, because the bill is still high.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why you want to service your AC, and energy efficiency isn't the only one. I mean, for health reasons, you want to ensure that your AC is being serviced in any event, right? And regular servicing of air conditioning units mean that you can catch things early on. So if you have like a freon leak or something else going on that really makes your unit inefficient and might even mean that your unit is going to be dying relatively soon, I think by having it serviced, you kind of get ahead of some of those things. So it's like anything else. I mean, maintenance, not just for the purposes of your CUC bill, but maintenance is important. That's like saying, you know, what's the benefit of servicing your car? Well, you service your car so that you can keep it in tip-top condition, mean that you're going to have the car longer, you're going to catch issues perhaps early on. And yes, it might be more energy efficient if your spark plugs are changed regularly and filters are changed and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of the benefits, but it's certainly not the only benefit, right? But I think that the point that is being made here right now with this particular slide is that the outdoor temperatures, particularly during the summer months, but in this year in particular, are so outrageous. And as temperatures increase because of global warming or whatever we're going to be blaming it on, there's no doubt that temperatures are increasing and they're reaching new highs that we have never seen in our lifetime before. So if you and I have never experienced this type of heat, our appliances have likewise never experienced this type of heat. And so they're having to work harder than perhaps they were even designed to work when you think about it.
Quite possible.
Yeah. So, you know, we can only do so much with what we have. But I think the purpose of Nichelle being here and what CUC is doing is just saying, make sure that you are aware that there are things that you can do to be impactful. And it's not just one single thing. So it's not just servicing your AC unit. You know, I've talked about 6 or 7 things that we had to do moving into larger square footage house: tinting the windows, going with solar panels, some propane appliances, changing out all of our lights. Like there's like 6 different things that we've done to try to, and again, because I admit and I accept that I'm a high-end user, I've tried to do everything in my power to mitigate as much as possible what I'm going to be paying at the end of the day for my energy use. Yeah. All right. Every little bit helps, I think, is a takeaway. Thank you so much, caller. You too. Really appreciate it. And listen, it's a good question nonetheless. You know, he's wondering, I'm going to be doing this, and this. Is it really going to be worth it? So let's.
And I just want to chime in, Sandy. I was one of those that was like, "What's the point of this? I'm going to cost in terms of the maintenance." Well, my sheetrock ceiling fell in because my drain pan overflowed because I hadn't gotten it maintained. So you end up paying more sometimes if you don't maintain your appliances. So I had to pay for the sheetrock repair to the ceiling. This was in my younger, less knowledgeable days. So just that out there, but it
Oh
does
God,
help.
I've had that happen too.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you got to repair sheetrock, and that's even more money
I was
that
upset.
you really did not want to spend.
I paid for the
Venice says
maintenance.
just cover the outside blocks with 2-inch of foam, especially the east and the west. Again, it's always a balance between trying to be aesthetically pleasing and implement these things that really do make a difference. So
Talk about
Sony says, good morning, K-Man. Seems no matter what you do, CUC is still murdering people. Oh my God, from $600 to $1,500. So again, Sony, sorry.
Can we ask that? Can we ask if $1,500 is 1 month? Because
Yes. Is that a 1 month jump? And also, can we see your usage? Again, let's see. Send me, if you're right now, Sony, you can send me on WhatsApp 324-1612. Send me your actual bill, the one that's $600 and the one that's $1,500, and let's look at it, because again, the devil is in the details. So let's talk about this base rate increase.
Yep.
And what that means for consumers.
I'm also looking at Sony's. Is it Sony's bill at the same time? So let's talk about the base rate. So as I think we've talked about it a couple of times now, that fuel, we add no markup to that. And I've watched your show, Sandy, talk about Business 101, when you've been talking about like grocery stores, etc. There's a cost that the business has, and then there's additional in terms of margin for the company to make money and to employees and reinvest in the companies. A lot of people are like, well, what are you doing with those profits? We reinvest them. But fuel, we make no money on fuel. Zero. Zip. What?
It's just a pass-through expense.
That's right. So the base rate, we included
and can we pull it up here? Is it on here where I can actually see? This is my bill. So do we see where the base rate is on here?
So yeah, so it's basically the energy charge is
the 0.128 on this one.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And that is where CUC basically recovers its costs and earns enough money to reinvest. So every time you see our trucks out there, when you see us planting poles, when you see new developments coming online, and we have to put in new infrastructure, when there are hurricanes, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but most insurance companies will not insure poles. In fact, sorry, no insurance companies will insure poles beyond a certain area. So basically within our plant can be insured, but around the island where the poles are, that cannot be insured. That cannot be covered by insurance companies. So when there's a storm, that is the cost that we incur to then perform repairs. So the base rate is where we recover those costs.
And let me say this, Nichelle, that's so interesting. And I learned that recently when I toured your plant, because I didn't know that. I mean, who thinks that you can't get insurance for like poles and stuff, right? So that's really, really interesting. But I recently, during the Easter break, was able to take a partial tour of your plant. And I see equipment. I see engines, and I see all this stuff. I actually got to see where some of the money is going for sure. That's not stuff like staffing and training and bonuses and all that kind of stuff. This is just equipment. When I toured the plant, safety mechanisms, building up, since Ivan, the lessons that you guys have learned, building up your new, facility to Hurricane Cat 5 standards, but also elevating it so you don't have issues with flooding. And, I was really surprised at how much CUC actually reinvests in the infrastructure part of the company. That was to me really, really impressive, because I thought to myself, every kid in Cayman should tour the CUC plant and understand this a little bit. Because what it demonstrated to me is you don't have equipment that's falling down and rusted. You guys are not taking chances with our life and our safety and a fire plant or a fire explosion, or, this is top-notch equipment. My brother-in-law was with me, and he actually works at a cement plant in Jamaica, and he was so blown away Jamaica, a big country, 3 million people. He was so blown away by the technology that CUC was utilizing, even in that room, I don't know if it's called the command center or what that room is, or where they're monitoring 24/7. Any little outages, any little thing on a line, and how now you guys can pinpoint it so incredibly precisely. I mean, that's like technology. And he was like, oh my God, can I take a picture of all these screens in this room? They were like, no. But it was like jaw-dropping what you guys actually do there. And I thought maybe one of the reasons sometimes you guys get ridden a little bit hard is people don't even appreciate what CUC actually does. I was blown away. I was like, listen, y'all need to make me give a tour and record some of this so that people can get a glimpse, because once you have that kind of understanding, if you've ever ran a business and you have to buy equipment, you have to invest in the business, you know that none of that comes cheap. And doing it at the scale at which CUC does it and keeping us in the 90-something percentile in terms of the uptime in our service, y'all would really appreciate things a little bit more. I'm just saying. All right, Natasha says, this is the cost of owning a house, expenses. And you know, Natasha, it's so interesting that you say that, because again, when we talk about money matters on this program, people go out there and like, oh, I want to, if I'm paying rent $1,200, why can't I get a house? I'm like, when you decide to upgrade and get a house, have you thought about all of these elements of, you've got to service your own air conditioning units. You've got to, yes, it takes money. Like, you've got to invest in your home and spend money in order to keep it running optimally. Evelyn says, I service my AC units every 3 to 4 months. Sophia says, no matter what you do, it will never change. And if you have kids at home all summer, you know what? That's why I don't keep my daughter at home. Sounds horrible, but I'm sending her to camp. Okay. No need to manage games and the TV to be on, because when I'm here, I hardly ever have the TV on. I'll be honest with you. If she's here, oh no, the TV's got to be on, and then and we also need to teach her kids. She walks out of a room. We have the automatic lights, by the way. So in a lot of the rooms, they turn off and on automatically, but some rooms it's not practical to do that. And I'm saying to her, hey, honey, you're going to be 6 in a couple weeks, 7, sorry. In a couple weeks, you can now reach the switch and turn off your lights in the morning. Turn off the light. Don't leave the water faucet. A couple times she's like, turn on the water, and just walked away. I'm like, what are you doing? Turn these things off. It costs money. So a lot of times we don't teach our children like money sense, money management. Like, they don't understand. She's almost 7. She was asking me this week, what's the bank account? I was like, oh Lord, we got some catching up to do. But making them appreciate that you can't go in front of the refrigerator, open the refrigerator and stand there all day because you're paying for that. That's real talk, right? Have you guys ever seen this show called Extreme? Oh God, I forget what it is. Extreme Budget something. Like, it's people who go to like a real crazy degree about trying to penny pinch and save money. Like, they go and get the free ketchup and then pour it in their own little ketchup bottle. What's it called?
Extreme couponing?
No, this one is like, oh God, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like people who really are trying to save money. There was a guy, I'm going to see if I can find it, because I actually recorded.
My accounting part.
Yeah, I record Extreme. Oh, there we go. Ooh, Siobhan would know, child. She's on the budget list. Extreme Cheapskates is what it's called. And there was a guy who had a timer on the refrigerator, right? And it was 45 seconds, I think, that any member of his house for the day can only open the fridge for 45 seconds. And they can't go back in there. Like, you take out what you need and that's it. And the kids were like, this is so hard. Of course, they want to open it up and be looking around the fridge. When they get 45 seconds to get in and out, they have to know what they're going in there for. It's crazy. But Extreme Cheapskates. Y'all check it out. These people take budgeting and saving to a completely new level. I'm gonna see if I can find that video, because when I first saw it, I was like, this is crazy.
I wanted to address Albert's comment, please, Sandy, if we could.
Albert. Oh, CUC has the sixth highest in the world as per kilowatt hours and an average of 33 cents for residential customers. So he's trying to say CUC has the sixth highest rate in the world. Is that right?
I don't think that's correct. I'll verify it, but I will say to you, Albert, that in terms of, so we look at where we stand.
Is the kilowatt even correct? Because
he's averaging it out because it depends each month. It fluctuates each month.
Okay.
Right. And I don't know what currency he's using, whether he's doing US dollars, because if he's looking at a worldwide setting, it's probably like in US dollars. But we track ourselves against the Caribbean. There is an institute called Carolec. You can Google it. They have all of their reports on the website. It's transparent. You don't need to take my word for it. And I will tell you, our Caymanian consumers actually are one of the highest residential electricity consumers in the Caribbean, but our rates are actually in the middle. And there's reasons for that.
What's the name of that website again, Nichelle?
Carolec.
Carolec.
C-A-R-I-L-E-C. It's for
C. Okay.
It's Caribbean Institute of Electricity.
Association of Energy Solution Providers. Okay.
Yes. And so everyone puts in their reports, and their reports are on there. They're transparent. In terms of our energy costs, we're actually in the middle. There are some things they do redact because obviously the goal is not for bashing. But I will say one of the reasons that we are the higher consumers is we don't have mountains, we don't have hills. A lot of the Caribbean counterparts get a lot of breeze, and we're relatively flat. So we rely on air conditioning way more than a lot of other Caribbean countries, right? So we just have to remember we're not always comparing apples to apples, but our rates do fall in the middle. So I'm not sure about that sixth highest in the world. I'd have to see where that information is coming from, considering we fall in the middle for the Caribbean.
Yeah. And I was kind of mentioning this the other day too, about the dynamics of, like I was saying, in Jamaica, for example, I've just made a personal observation that a lot of homes don't require central AC because they do have the mountains, and depending on where regionally you are within Jamaica, it gets cooler at night, and you can just turn on a fan and you're perfectly fine. Cayman, we flat and hot. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Nichelle.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi guys. Just giving a quick call in. CUC is not my favorite bill to pay, but I do pay. I'm a good debtor. I just wanted to tell Nichelle, first of all, thank you for coming on the front line and taking all those jobs. Well done. But more importantly, I just wanted to remind the community, particularly the Caymanian community, I find that we are a society that lives very much with no conservation in mind. I think it's throughout the entire fabric of society. Just as an example, we've had to put in place marine protection conservation laws. I don't think that we are a society that is extremely conscious of consumption on any level, be it food, water, electricity. I don't think that it's something that we really focused on. I will put my hand way up and say, I am a cheapskate. I am very conservative. And sometimes I will tell you, it does not in any way reflect, particularly in my CUC bill. I think I was fortunate this month that my bill went down $57, but I also know that I was like the light Nazi. I went around and I turned every light off, every fan off, like get it off, plug it out. It's not being used. So I have Sandra can probably attest to how very budget friendly that I am and how transparent that I am, particularly with my kids. I have 2 young kids, in terms of letting them know, listen, like if you want to do X or Y, if you want to do some social event, we're going to have to cut back on this bill So that means that those 7-minute showers have to go down to 5. Those that you want to play on your iPad plugged in for 4 hours, it's gonna have to be cut down to 2. And I think for me, it is, there's something that we can all do to continue to combat and to reduce the cost. Now, I don't know. I also complain about my CUC bill, and I would complain about it if it was $10.
Yes. Well, at least you're being honest.
Yeah. I complain. It went down, but I complain that it didn't go down enough.
Right.
So, and that's it. And I just want to, remind everybody out here that there are things that we can do. I do have a small complaint. I think back in the day, my dad's a builder. So when I tell you I'm up to the time with what I can do and improve and blah, 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 my house is about 14 years old and stuff. So I had to do some changes in there to get a bit more energy efficient. But I heard somebody call in earlier and said that had LED light bulbs. Right. So when I built my house all those years ago, my dad was a builder. He went out and he spent $400 on light bulbs. I never. But they were compact fluorescent light bulbs, and I still have some of those light bulbs still. That they work. I started to change out each room to LED light bulbs, basically a room at a time because they were so pricey. My bill went up. And I remember at one point, I think CUC, I remember CUC at one point saying, change all of your bulbs to LED bulbs. And then I would say this year, they put out something that said to change it to compact fluorescent lights, which was the $400 bulbs that my dad had bought way back in 2009. And can she clarify something on that? I just think that everybody can just do a little bit to kind of buy now and save later is what I like to call it. And don't like when I did my bulbs, I did in one room at a time. Mind you, I had to go over and redo it after I realized that my bill had gone up significantly. And then I saw the article saying change to compact fluorescent lights. So I'm
gonna send you some information on this, and I'll share this in the comment section. There's a website called energysavingtrust.org out of the UK. This is a nonprofit website that gives you a lot of information on how to save, and they go through a whole history of the evolution of light bulbs and which ones are more energy efficient and what kind of percentage. So for example, compact fluorescent lamps, CFLs, were the first energy efficient bulbs on the market, and they use around 70 to 80% less electricity than the equivalent traditional bulbs, as well as lasting 10 times longer. So CFL bulbs have a gas inside, a glass tube that is charged when electricity, until it glows, sorry. But then you've got the LEDs, which are the light emitting diodes, I think, and they have cells which are more efficient, even more efficient, and turn on instantly at full brightness and are available to fit pretty much any sort of lighting in home. LEDs produce light from the electricity flowing through them, and within a bulb, you'll find a larger number of LEDs to create sufficient brightness. So even the way in which they operate is completely different. But I'll send you some information on this because it has a whole thing here. If you switch to bulbs to LED, depending on the wattage, because it does matter, obviously. If it's 100-watt incandescent bulb, you're going to basically save £15, because it's a UK website, per bulb per year. And that's based on using a 1100 lumen bulb running for about 562 hours per year. It does depend on the usage, obviously, and the wattage and stuff like that. So this website, Siobhan, I've just sent it to you on WhatsApp. That one's pretty good. GE Lighting also has a whole thing on a guide to energy efficient light bulbs that is pretty good, and it does explain the difference between them. But I think one of the things that people have to be cognizant of, it's one thing to switch to LED, which we did. I took out every single light fixture and switched to LED during our move-in process. But it's also another thing when lights are left on. And that's why some rooms, I have the timer on it. So you walk in, especially bathrooms, right? You walk in the bathroom, it's easy to forget to turn that light off, especially when you have kids. And so putting the automatic lights in certain rooms where they go off, and within those, when you add them to your little light switch, you can adjust how long it stays on for. So we have our the shortest possible. It goes like sometimes you're sitting on the toilet and it goes off. That's when you hear, "Mommy, the light is off." And then I'm like, wave your hand and it'll come back on by motion, right? But I think that those also help, because kids will just walk out of a room and forget that the light is on. And like 2 hours later, as a parent, you see it, you walk in there, and that's 2 hours. I mean, lighting, I think it helps, but it's not like you're going to save hundreds of dollars. I don't know what size house some people have, but
I've been known to screw out a bulb of light.
Oh Lord, have mercy! You need to be a next skate.
So if I could, Siobhan, so we focused a lot on air conditioning because it's 50 to 75%. Lighting does help.
Oh wait a minute! I think Siobhan, are you speaking for some reason? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I said I just want to remind everybody out there to do what you can do within obviously your control to to combat the rising cost of everything, to be quite frank. I mean, I go to the grocery store and my grocery bill is competing with my CUC bill. Mm-hmm. So it's everywhere, and it seems to be worldwide, to be fair. And on that note, use less dryer, use more lines, use more inside dryers, turn it off.
Yeah.
So you ladies have a good day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So there's some excellent links here. I'm going to give you guys again some of these. I mean, these are good questions, and for me, I think that it's not that there's going to be a magic bullet, like changing all your LED lights is going to save you hundreds of dollars. It's that every little thing helps. So Natasha says quarterly servicing of your AC unit and annual servicing of appliances also helps. Check if your units have shade coverage or sits in direct sunlight, like the actual condenser unit, I think is what it's called on the outside. That makes a difference as well. But Natasha, I love that you talk about appliances, because we forget appliances should be serviced. I have a refrigerator. I swear I need to kick it to the curb, but I'm not ready to do that yet because it still works. But one side of it gets like the frosted, gets the, what do we call it? Like frosted ice or whatever inside the fridge. And the guy's like, this shouldn't be, you've got to have, get your appliances serviced. Go talk to appliance doctor. They got a good deal for servicing appliances. But again, if your appliances have a problem and you don't know it, and they're not working as well as they should be, you're wasting electricity without even knowing it. Nichelle, you're good for time?
I'm fine.
All right. So listen, I want to share this with you. I'm sharing all my business here today. Y'all gonna know exactly what Sandy is spending her money on when it comes to her household, because of course, you see, the last time Nichelle was on here, I don't know if this is in your slide, but you guys were talking about the Emporia energy system. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something we need. And I messaged Martin. I'm like, oh, let's get this. And he's like, we have that already.
I remember that. That was awesome.
That's when you got a husband in IT, honey child. He just takes care of these things and you don't have to worry about it. But look at this. I'm going to share this with you all. Okay, so this is my household. And these are the things that we have connected. So someone said to me, I'm going to see if I can increase this a little bit. Someone said to me yesterday, oh, Sandy, can you buy me one of these? And I was like, it's not quite, buy me a plug. It's not quite a plug. This actually has to get installed on your panel. So I'm sure he would have had, hold on a second now. Let me check Amazon. Oh Lord, I hope I don't say
on Amazon. But I know, so just so you know, I think Cooling Pros is also a licensed distributor of the Emporia well on Island. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any other local distributors, but I know they are.
Yeah.
But you can also buy it
Okay.
yourself and have an electrician install it as well.
Yes, this is something, it's not just a plug. This is something that you need. It goes on the panel and then individual appliances get plugged in and whatever. They by the way, if you have an electric vehicle, they actually have the Emporia EV chargers as well, which allows you to like monitor the charging of vehicles. And you know what the best part about those are? You can actually turn off it from your phone, from the smart app. So somebody can't just come and plug in and be sitting there getting free charge off of you. You decide whether it's actually like live on or off, which is pretty cool. All right, so here's my usage, and you got all kind of, you can look at graphs, you can do all kind of stuff at management, notifications, whatever. So it shows my total usage, and then it looks at individual things. Look at what's at the top of that list using 32%. You see that right there? The dryer. Isn't that mad? Because here's the thing. The dryer only gets used like once a week. But that shows you how much the dryer, and you know what? This dryer is a gas dryer. So I'm wondering, why is that so high? Anyway, these are the things that you just don't know. You don't understand how much your appliances actually use. AC on the data room. Oh, I'm sorry. The AC in the data room uses more than dryer. My bad. So the AC in the data room, see how in real time these numbers are moving around a little bit?
Yeah, it changed. And Sandy, they also sell smart plugs. I can't remember who made the comment earlier about having timers, but you can buy smart plugs, from Emporia, and basically you can operate through your phone that they turn off at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
Energy vampires. You know, we talk about things like having your chargers plugged in and you know, a lot of things plugged in that you're not using.
Yeah.
You can set up a timer on all of those if you have smart plugs.
Yep. So, I mean, this is an eye opener. The data room, I completely can understand because this is like data room computers, and it has to be maintained at a particularly low temperature at all times. So I can understand why that's taken up more than anything else in my household. So we have the dryer, AC compressor number 1. We've got an ice machine, the refrigerator, air handler, water cooler. And then he has it organized by kind of location. So here's the office, right? Office printer, Marlon's computer versus my computer. Oh, Lord, I'm ashamed to say that his computer doesn't use anywhere near. Look, his computer is 4% of usage and mine is 17%. But you know why that is? I have an excuse. It just went up 18%. Oh, my God. That's because I have what is the equivalent of a gaming machine, but I don't use it for that purpose. But it's still a high-end processor. It is running 24/7. I don't turn off. Occasionally, if it starts doing something weird, I'm forced to restart everything, but I don't turn it off. So I've got multiple cameras connected for this show. I've got 2 big monitors, if you guys could see. You know, I've got a big monitor over here, a big monitor over here. So again, I can appreciate why my computer is using 18, now it's down to 13%. And his is really low at 3-4%, right? The entertainment center, it's not in use right now, but you notice it still says 1%. No one even has it on. But remember, these things are pulling no matter what. There's air handler number 1. That's at 0% right now. That must be, I don't know which air hand. I don't know how he has the name, but obviously that's probably the master and it's not even on. So you see, it's not on, so it's pulling nothing. I bet you this is your argument for when you talk about, oh, does it matter if I have it on or off? If I turn it on right now, even if I had it at 78 degrees, it's not going to be at 0%. It's going to be pulling and utilizing some power. So turn it off, folks. Don't be fooled by what you heard in the past.
I love that you showed your computer was at 18%, because I think people really underestimate how much a computer can use depending on the configuration.
Yep. That's for sure. And then we've got the data room rack. That's at 21%. The PCs, it's so funny because the data room PCs are not even using as much as my one singular PC, which is kind of crazy. We have a compost machine that's not on, so that's not using anything. Gigi's fan is off during the day, so that's not using anything. Front porch lights, well, they're obviously off during the day. But you see, you can do your thing by day. You can look at usage for the week. You can look at the month and the year. You can do all sorts of things with the management. You can go right down to the second, the minute, right? So, folks, it's worth it. Monthly peak, 15-minute demand on my kilowatt hours. So this stuff is, I mean, it might be more than you need in terms of information, but if you really want to see your usage, trust me, get this and you'll be able to monitor it based on the time of day and everything, right? So you can even see like early morning hours. This is Wednesday. As we go through the day, you can see how the usage goes up. Let me see if I can do this by, let's see. So day 3 p.m., it kind of dips. Can we do it by the day? Yeah. So you can do it by the hour, by the day, by the week. So you can see, you know, weekly how you're doing, or even looking at your month to month. And this, I bet you anything, would be right in line with what the CUC graphs look like. So for example, look at December. You see how December, the month is kind of low, low, low. And then as we get into May and June, see how it kind of starts to go up. And there was June of last year as well, June of 2022. So my July consumption, 902 kilowatt hours per month. And then it talks about consumption, the usage is the same, and the monthly peak is right there. So listen, these things are helpful.
And
it'll give you an idea.
They can also
of how
get
you're doing
on Customer Connect if they can't, you know, if they don't have the ability to get the Emporia just yet. What they can't get is lovely detail you showed by appliance. They can get this monthly and daily and weekly information. But appliance data, that's purely Emporia, which is fantastic. It's priceless, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really shows you exactly what happens. You know, this is like my real-time usage right now. So yeah, no, it's amazing. You know, I don't look at this kind of stuff too often, but I think that if you want to utilize something like this, it talks about like, here's time of use management, how you can set your smart devices to automatically adjust consumption as your rate changes throughout the day. So there are options on how to do that. You can schedule stuff. You can switch things off and on. Folks, it's worth it. You know, it's not super expensive to get this done. Like I said, you will need obviously an expert to help, but you know, it gives you management of your energy use in your household at a completely different level. We don't have the power thing connected, but you know, even for solar panels, we have another app that will allow us to like monitor those things and stuff as well. So, right. So rainfall, again, CUC has put together a nice little demonstration here for us to show you how all these things make a difference. Outdoor temperature, when you have rain, how, you know, the amount of rain that we get really does matter and really does impact us. We had a little bit of rain last month for a couple days. So I guess that was a little bit helpful in keeping the temperatures down a little bit.
It was a lot lower than last year, though, in terms of the amount of rain that we got for June compared to last year, June. That's why you see that red line is so much lower than the blue for June.
Wow. Jim says CUC is also a business, which some people may not understand. So they have to make profits just like any other business. There's no utility company is run based on charity. And even government-run utility companies around the world, they may not be trying to make a profit, but they're certainly not in the business of losing money. And when they do, you know, they're less reliable. They're going to shut off power during peak hours and at night and all sorts of stuff. to try to conserve where they can. So Perla says, good morning to everyone. To those that have window tints, how often do you service the AC unit? My apologies. For those who have window units, how often do you service your AC unit? If not serviced often, like 3 months, mold will build up and make you sick. So again, I mean, speak to your AC technician. They're the best ones to look at the conditions of your house, the age and condition of your units, and tell you really how often they should be serviced. Like my guy has us on a schedule. He knows and he'll message, hey, it's time for your servicing. Come and get it done. So Paul has a question. Paul joining us from Bermuda. Morning, Paul. Does CUC give a discount if a bill is paid on or before a given date?
Not at this time. That would be something that we could investigate with the regulator. So any changes to our rate structure should go through the regulator first. And to be honest, no one receives a discount.
Mm-hmm.
No one. And
not even staff.
Not even staff, not our CEO.
Some people think that one of the benefits of working with CUC is that you get free electricity.
No.
So Cameron says, I remember getting cussed too for leaving the fridge door open. And I still cuss when people do that even today. Yeah, these are little things that make a difference. Noli, good morning, says Sandy. If it's the fuel that's a problem, then it's a government problem to resolve. For years, government said they were going to work on reducing fuel costs, have not seen it yet. Well, I think the reality, Noli, is what can government do? Government doesn't own the fuel companies. And so, they can't tell, within a margin, Off-Right does monitor what the fuel companies, like how much they mark up. But CUC is buying their stuff in bulk, and they try to, offset that and try to, what's the term that I'm looking for? Where you invest. There's a specific term for it. Like you try to save money by futures or something.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So we do have a program where we invest in basically stock options. But sorry, not stock options. Sorry, like calls and puts. Basically, it's trading to try to put a band on a cap on the fuel price that customers would experience. It's hedging. Hedging is the term.
Right. Hedging. That's what I was looking for. So they try their best to try to find the best pricing on fuel, but the market is what the market is. I was seeing something just the other day talking about fuel in the US is about to go up again. Lord Jesus. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
No, man. Just a couple of questions on the behalf of CUC. I've known people that pay $1,300 and Pacific would cut off everything, including the meter box, and wasn't on the island. Nothing running. And up to now, they hadn't given him an explanation no more, and it was a legal meter fee.
A legal meter fee, $1,300?
Yeah, and one more thing, the buildings that is carrying like 3-4 transformers, like 200 feet away from your home, they're carrying like what, 36,000 volts or 72,000 volts? I don't know. But if you're paying $260 and you're not in that range, your meter will go slow. But as long as you are around, and this is proven, CUC can't tell me no. So your meter inclines to speed up with just your fridge on and nothing else on in the house.
Okay, so thank you. So let's talk about the meters in general. I know that when you guys swapped out to smart meters, there were some questions about how this works. Sorry, we got a caller here. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
Oh, Miss Mary, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Right now, I'm at the boiling point.
Oh gosh. Why?
Yes.
Is it related to CUC?
I've been listening to you. your program, not very much of your program.
Uh-huh.
I checked the other this program that's on the morning program on from the other station, and they were basically discussing the same subject. One of the things that we need to do in Cayman is to, if we expect to save energy, if we expect to have sustainability, if we expect to maintain our trees. I have had the most disgusting experience this week that I've had in a very long time. Down at the senior center, we have a playground for children. A couple of weeks ago, somebody came there, cut down the two bearing tamarind trees and a grape tree that was sheltering in the east corner of it. And one of the trees fell over and knocked down the stone wall and two sides of the chain link fence. And when I called the bus, spoke about it, tried to report it, I was told, well, one of the trees was the other lady's side of the fence, and I should go to her. And then I could bring a civil suit against her if she didn't fix the tree stump.
Oh my gosh.
I had, during the Diamond Jubilee, we planted something between 700 and 900 trees in the island. 7 of them were 100 trees on the line between us and the National Trust, the Mission House. I went there one morning, they were leveled. According to
oh my gosh,
the report, these are 11-year-old trees. According to the reports, well, I went everywhere. CUC got blasted, public, everybody got blasted. Because I went to their offices. I didn't send no message. And the story was that the government was going to put lights on the parking lot in the back because people were doing drugs in there and they want to put 10 light poles in there. I thought, why don't you put the poles on the other side where you have already cut down 2 tamarind trees and 1 tree? Well, you know, the pole was over here and was easy. It was a whole long story. And that seemed to have, I don't know if it's died in natural death or it's just in the bay until I think I forget about it. Day before yesterday, I couldn't go there anymore on our own because Bodden Town has been infested with a clientele that God knows where they're coming from, but you don't feel safe anymore. I've lived in this town 76 years and I have never felt threatened. But when I go to that senior citizen center, we never go up, we don't go there anymore at night, and we don't go there on our own. We would go to do, if one of us had a day off or time off, we would go and do some stuff. So somebody, one of the members is going to meet me there, and I go and I'm sitting there. We have a children's camp going there, and Jackson has a camp for children. It's a 2-week thing, and for children you can't afford to go to all the other places that they have. And so that finished at 2:00, and we figured we'd go there at 4 to do some work we needed to get done. I get there, sitting in my car waiting for the other person to arrive. And I noticed there's a one there with small children. She's gathering them up and moving out. And I thought, I hope she didn't do that because of me. But then I open the car window and I hear a chainsaw. And I thought, where's that saw? What's going on? I got out of my car and they had massacred the tree. That's the only word I can use for it. The tamarind tree and the guinea tree that was loaded with fruit, the limbs are on the ground. Guineps at $3.29 a pound in costs. You think them little poor children on Bodden Town can afford to go down there to buy guineps? The tree was loaded. The last tree, the 8th one, which is planted there, this little guy is up in it with a chainsaw, and I don't know if they understand the liability. This is government's property. If he falls out of that tree with that chainsaw and gets any kind of damage, somebody can pay, and they dearly. There was no one else there but him in the tree, cutting the mahogany tree down. I managed to save one limb of it. I chased him down out of it, managed to save one limb. He said, well, that's what he was told to do. I said, I don't know what he got in his. Finally, he was going to cut some more, but he got in his little car that he had there and putting chains on, and he left. Yesterday morning, I was there, and his boss is there. And I said, I walked over to him because I don't believe in beating around the bush and pretending that I don't know what's going on. I go, I said, are you responsible for this massacre of the trees here? Boy, he let me both barrels loaded. In the end, he told me I couldn't stop him. Public Works had given him the right to go and do it. And, they was going to get cut down. And that one limb that was left of that mahogany tree had to go. I said, well, the governor's coming up here and I will be telling her what happened to the trees in the park. That shelters. We have a beautiful set of equipment. Some of those trees were there when I was a little girl. Beautiful set of playground equipment there that the Darts put in for us when we were doing the development there. We bought that piece of land. That was my father's piece of land, so I know what was on it. I don't have to ask anybody what was there. And with the playground equipment, there's a beautiful place. The playground equipment is fenced in. It got nice white sand around it so the children can play there safely. Well, I was told, you're old, you need to go home. You need to go home and read your Bible and say your prayers and get ready to die. Well, I got some work to do before I die. And protecting that place up there was one of them. I have trees in that yard that are there that is 100 years old plus. If they touch them, I can tell you, Sandra, one of us is going down. I might go to prison, but one of us is going down. This has gone far enough in Bodden Town. So along comes a community officer, and he's going to help justify. They have government has a policy, a new policy. And they're cutting all the trees down because of the hurricane. I said, which hurricane? Well, if we get a hurricane, you have to understand that these limbs can be flying missiles. Now, where they're going to fly to, I don't know, because there's nothing there except a piece of playground equipment and a whole lot of land. But they're going to be flying missiles. Well, I told him what I had to say up in the church hall here some weeks ago. You start driving from Pease Bay down to the end of Bodden Town, and you will have to ask where the crime is. And you will have to ask where the drug is or anything else. And you have to ask where the garbage is. Right next to the church. I went this morning to pick up my sister because we walk every morning and she lives on the backside of the church wall. And I go there to pick her up because when I try to pick her up on the side of the road, the cars would stop. 2 dogs were there they attacked my car. They couldn't attack me because I wouldn't get out. But I banged on the car, did some of everything so that she could get into the car on the other side. If you go to church, you got to put up with that. Next to the church, there is a ton of old cars and trucks and old this and old that and garbage of every form under the sun. If the community officer wants to do something, he should try to get them to move that because that's going to be the flying missiles. We got a hurricane and that comes over like an island, they're going to be pitched into every house in that neighborhood. And that's a very close neighborhood. The houses are very close together. But nobody's doing anything about that. You can't go on the public beach because that has been taken over. What's not garbage is just people there that occupies it all day. You can't, the town has become, I never thought that my town would reach the level it has reached. And it is because nobody seems to care. But the idea, I don't know if government has that policy or that was just made up for me to drive me off. But if that's a policy that government has, that they're going to cut down the trees because the hurricane is coming, I can tell you one thing. It's hot now. It's going to be hotter afterwards. The children cannot play on the playground equipment now because it's metal. And when it heats up by 9 o'clock in the morning, the shade is not there. The children can't play on it. And I wonder who is making these policies and who's making these things up and wishing them down on our heads to people that don't know what they're doing. Where's it coming from? We are talking about sustainability. Let me tell you something. If you don't have trees in your yard, your house is going to be twice as hot as it was without them. You have to have your trees. Okay, so they got to trim them from under the lines and they murder them there too, but they have an excuse for doing that. But when they come on like a park, whoever heard of cutting down the trees in a park to the ground? Whoever heard about doing something like that? A park that serves a community. In the summertime when people need to be able to go someplace and sit down. No. It has gone far enough, and I have had enough. I don't know what they are going to do about it, because if they ever cross the line, like I tell you, we have a naceberry tree that's over 100 years old. We have a guinea tree that's over 100 years old. Yes, there are trees that need cutting, but they don't touch them. The ones that's resting on the house top, they don't touch them. Government has never come in there. When the Grace hurricane was over, we asked them for help, and they sent one little guy there one evening. He cut down the breadfruit tree. He didn't know what the breadfruit tree was, although he was on it. So we spent $1,800 plus paying for 5 grab truckloads to trim up, prune up the trees with the broken leaves, and come back and put them back in the way. I don't understand why it is. According to the committed police officer, that is a center for crime. Well, if it's a center for crime, whose fault is that? I was there. Somebody broke a window. I called them. They said, well, there's nothing they can do. I took them across and I showed them. I said, there's somebody living in the bathroom. Well, this is government's property, and you got to be careful, because there is a fine line between the criminal offense and the civil offense. And they have. I said, but things are not made to sleep in. They're not made to live in. Why is it we have to deal with this? Now, yesterday I heard that there were masked men down in there in black, and somebody had seen them or something, and they, of course, national troops brought an old house from Georgetown and put that in the back of their place, and there are people sleeping in that. There are people breaking into people's houses in town and moving in and taking their furniture and putting the side of the road for the grab truck to pick up, and they move in and they own the place. What is going on in this town that we cannot get some law and order in here to take care of some of these things? Because that's the stuff that breeds crime. They don't seem to understand. You don't tackling crime. You need to tackle the source that's breeding it. That's where you begin. But if you don't begin there, you're gonna have it sprouting up and sprouting up and sprouting up. Oh, they tell me the trees are broken. Yes, but you don't understand. The young limbs will snap off in the breeze. The big limbs won't. The young limbs snap off, and then I said, what happens after that? If you put the CUC line,
Miss Mary, we do have Nichelle does have some time commitments, so I think that what we could.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just came in the house and.
Oh yes. But we definitely understand your concerns, and maybe what I could do is try to pay you a visit, and we can look at some of these areas that you're talking about. But yeah, we do have a guest, Nichelle Scott from CUC, is actually in the studio, and she has to leave here shortly.
I know they're trying to do something so that the electric bills and all the rest.
Yes.
I didn't know she was in your studio. I listened to the other statement, but
yeah.
That's okay, Miss Mary.
We need to do something about this. We cannot keep going the way it is going now. We need to do something about it. This thing is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And the situation is getting worse and worse. And if we don't make an effort to stop it, it is going to be completely out of control.
Thank you so much, Miss Mary.
All right, take care.
All right, my dear, appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I'll add that to my list of things that I want to look into, especially for Boddentown. Derelict vehicles and so on is another one. But Nichelle, thank you so much for your patience. And obviously, Miss Mary is very upset. It sounds like she's a good reason to be. So let's talk now about payment plans. Do we have a slide for this one? Shall I bring the slides back up?
Yeah, number 10, I'll touch on this one before I head out. And just before I touch on this, I think Gareth Scott had put a comment on there asking about solar. Gareth, we talked about that briefly at the beginning of the session. For us to implement utility scale solar, we have to respond to a request for a proposal from the regulator. And we hope that they're going to do that soon. So we are waiting for that go ahead. In terms of financial assistance, that was a question that we've received from other people. So just to make sure everyone is aware, if you go to the CUC website and choose customer service, under there you'll see this square, the one that says payment options and payment arrangements. We offer payment extensions, which basically allows you to ask to pay your bill at a later date. And we offer payment plans. So if you've accumulated a balance, you want to pull that together, and pay that off over like a 2 months or 3 months. So that those are options that we offer. And there's also prepay if you have a balance and you want to still maintain service. Sometimes if you want it to go longer than a payment plan arrangement will let you prepay. You do that prepay electricity will let you do that. So there are options out there. They are all electronic and there are rules around it. So this site right here that I'm showing you has an article on it. So for example, if the electricity account is not in your name, you can't request an extension or a payment plan because you can't have someone else requesting to increase the balance on an account, for someone else's behalf. And we see that a lot with landlords and tenants. If it's still in the landlord's name and the tenant wants an extension, the landlord has to give the permission because it's the landlord who will be left with that cost if that tenant does not pay. So if the electricity is not in your name, you have to get the permission of whoever is the account holder for these requests because that's only fair. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for the cost.
Okay. So the bottom line really, folks, is that there are options available to you. So you can certainly reach out to CUC if you have any additional questions on that front. So very good to know. All right. Anna's asking about whether or not it's cheaper to run central AC or have the individual wall units installed. Again, I would recommend, can we talk a little bit about the audits that are available, how people can get like maybe a home audit to explore some of these options, like, what else they can do to reduce their usage and consumption?
So we're still in the pilot stage of offering an audit. We have not yet transitioned to offering that full time. But if someone has a significant concern, there was a customer on earlier that I'm going to go back and look at her bill, Miss Miller. If you're moving from, I can't remember what she said, to $1,500.
It was like $600 to $1,500.
That's not normal. We are going to do our best to help you troubleshoot and figure out what's happening there. But at this point in time, we don't offer formal audits, but we do help, try to diagnose if you have questions. In terms of formal audits, there are a couple of companies out there that do offer that, but we recognize that sometimes the cost is, it's a bit high. So we are working to have that service available. That's why right now we're pushing that customers really consider installing the Emporia device because it helps.
Okay. All right, beautiful. Nichelle, thank you so much again for coming on the program and asking or answering the many questions and kind of going through some of this. I think that this was helpful. We had maybe if we could do one or two quick ones that were on WhatsApp. Let me see here now. So we have one caller that said, oh gosh, where did that message go? Oh, yes. Good morning. Does CUC take into account the fact that a percentage of the power that they sell is generated by the sun when calculating the fuel costs for their customers?
Yes. So we actually received that question quite a bit, but in different formats. So showing that chart earlier for fuel cost charge, there was also a line item for renewable energy charge. So as our renewable energy increases, our fuel cost is going to decrease. That's why there's this line item for renewable energy, and that's the portion of your energy that's coming from the solar farm or any excess energy being provided from rooftop solar. That is then being sold on to the customer, and that means you're paying that much less in fuel, if that makes sense.
So whatever way that you guys can utilize solar even now, you're doing so and passing those cost savings on to the customer.
Absolutely. Sorry, it broke up a little bit on my end, but yes, we are passing on those cost savings as much as we can, and we hope more to come.
All right. Paul says, check for phantom loads, i.e. electrical devices that have a standby mode and they're still using electricity current. Johan says, Nichelle is a fantastic ambassador for CUC. She's measured, knowledgeable, and super professional at all times. An example of the Cayman core management team at CUC. He goes on to say how many companies in Cayman develop, train, employ, and promote that many Caymanians. On that note, Gareth's question about renewable energy, we've actually done an entire show on that before, but we know that we'll continue to have this discussion, because one thing I always say when it comes to the dissemination of information and, just having a good discourse, you need to do it more than once. You can say something once and 95% of the people never hear it. They don't know it, and they're still peddling in misinformation. As many times as we've said, fuel is a pass-through, there's still people out there who believe that CUC is marking up the fuel. The last caller mentioned that CUC is doing some kind of, finagling with your electricity, and they might be trying to do something to your bill. Folks, when you get something like the Emporia system, there's no question about what CUC is doing. That's on your specific devices. You get your electrician to put it on, and that's not connected to the CUC the CUC meter. That goes direct to your panel box, and you will get to see in real time what your usage is. Do not be fooled into believing that CUC is trying to steal from people or hoodwink you guys out of power when you have the technology at your fingertips to be able to see it for yourself. Seeing is believing. Good morning, caller. Last call for this segment. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
I am not complaining because some months my light bill is a little bit lower. Some months it's a little bit higher. It went down by $3.50 this month from last month, which is not nothing, because I can't buy a half a gallon of milk, which I buy because only me drink milk.
Then get your patty, though. I think you can still get your
not
patty.
a bread, but I ain't complaining. But so far, this is what I'm saying. I am poor, and I begging nothing. I am poor, and I don't have these humongous, never ever had these humongous light bills like what people be complaining about, because if it go that high, I have to go back to, I have electric stove and stuff, I have to go back to firewood and kerosene lamp, because we're not going to be able to pay it, because we are pensioners and our pension not going up no higher, and the bills are going up. But so far, my light bill never used to exceed $400, and I got a lot of stuff that go by, and I got window unit, AC too, and like the guy was saying, because somebody told me that mustn't had cut the AC off in my AC. I just put in a new one on the 14th of last month because that one was giving problems, and I have that on 7 to 7 all day, all night. Sometimes the guy put that in a week ago, and I cut that off. But they said it's better to keep it running, and it's an energy saving AC. It cuts on when the room get hot, and then when the room get cool enough, it cuts back off, and it keeps. And I tell my husband, do not touch the dial. But my light bill it used to be between 100 knots to 200. These last couple of months, last month it was $4 less, $6 less, $6 less, 400. This month now it gone up, because last month it was 394. 78, I believe it was, in this month it's 381.20. It going down by 350. But if my bill ever go up to 600-700, like I say, I don't think I'll be able to afford it. So I am not really complaining. I just keep my hands crossed. My house is solid concrete. Even though if I could put the ceiling concrete, I would put it, because I'll never put sheetrock back in anything. I want it cleaner. Was enough of sheetrock for me. I got solid concrete for this house. It may be ugly, but it is firm. The walls are all blocked and poor and everything, so I'm not really complaining. So I hope that mine don't go no higher than at least say $400, because I won't be able to pay it. But it's going down by $350 this month versus last month. So,
all right, my dear. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Like they say, keep your fingers and toes crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do try to abuse. Nothing, because I was taught that don't fly your hat high and you can reach it.
All right, darling. Thank you. All right, Nichelle, thank you so much for coming on the program today. We'll see you again, I'm sure, very, very soon. Some useful information, folks. Make sure that you utilize, the Smart Connect access. You can get daily reports even from CUC if you don't have the Emporia system. You can get daily reports on what your usage is, and if you see it going high, then you know you need to cut back. You need to do certain things. There are tools that are available to you. You just got to use them. So, yeah, simple as that.
Thanks so much for having me, and I really appreciate the engagement.
All right. Thanks, my dear. Michelle Scott, again, Director of Customer Services and External Communications at Caribbean Utilities Company, coming on and facing your questions directly. All right. Beautiful. All right, folks. We have about 27 minutes remaining in the program. CUC already has prepaid meters, Shakira. They've mentioned that before. So they do have them, and you can sign up. You can switch your current postpaid to prepaid right from the website. Go on the website and check it out. I understand it's super easy to do. They do a reading and then they switch you over. But yes, that is already available. That's why we do these programs, because like I said, we've mentioned it before, but you might not have been here, Shakira, to catch that program. You might not have heard it. So CUC is committed to coming on at least once a month to tell you what they're doing, what's going on, what services are available, all that great stuff, so that everybody can be in the know. Isn't that wonderful? So somebody sent a question about what to do if, says, good morning, what if 3 people are using the same light because 2 people in one room and she don't pay when the bill come? Well, first of all, honey child, when you're sharing accommodations, whether it's a room or, whether it's a room or a, what do you call it? A shared apartment or whatever, you've got to know what you're getting into first and foremost. So ensure that, listen, if it's a room or an apartment, try to get your own meter. Because when it's a big house and you're trying to split it, you're always going to be looking sideways at your housemates going, well, you cooking more than me, and you have the light on more than me, and you watch more TV more than me. You can't gauge anything based on that. I guess if you get this Emporia system and every individual person has all their appliances connected, you could sit down and work out who's actually using more. But who's going to be micromanaging and doing all that? I don't know. I suggest you find accommodations that have a separate meter. Don't be sharing no electricity with people. Or you just agree. If the bill comes and it's $500, you split it 3 ways evenly, end of story. And you're not nitpicking about who took a shower longer than the other person and you got 2 minutes more of hot water. You just split it evenly and that's it. Because there's really no way to figure out, unless, like I said, you get like the system, exactly and precisely what people are using. That's my recommendation. Okay. Let me see here now. Okay. I gotta go by planning later on, child. All right. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Is it true that old cars there by the church in Town? Well, so I've heard. I'm gonna go pay a visit to see exactly what's going on. All right. It takes a lot of energy to cool these items. I'd recommend to people not to reduce storing boxes, containers in the fridge. Not to use or reduce storing boxes, containers in the fridge. It takes a lot to cool these items. But they also make your produce, I think, last longer. This person says most Jamaicans can't afford AC because of how expensive electricity is in Jamaica. Even with good salaries, it wasn't a feasible option for my husband and me. Even with good salaries, wow. We've got some announcements here this morning. We would like to extend our condolences to the family of the late Rudy Ebanks. Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. We do know that Mr. Rudy was sick, and his son, Michael Ebanks, who recently returned to be the new deputy he was the deputy chief officer for MHRI, that ministry. Recently came back. He was off island. And I understood that one of the reasons, in fact, that he had returned was because his father's health was quickly declining. So Mr. Rudy, you guys will know, for many, many years was with Caribbean Flow, or Cable and Wireless, I should say, for many, many years. And he also more recently was with Offreg, and he had resigned his position from Offreg because, of his illness. So our condolences to him. It's his family, I should say, not to him, because obviously he's deceased, but to his family. Thank you so much for our listeners who just provided that information. So super sad. And by all accounts, really, really nice guy. I guess we all have to go that way, right? Oh, some sooner than others, my dear. What can you do? Live your best life while you got it and while you can. Okay. Let me see here. All right. So someone says pay-as-you-go electricity. Yeah, it's a thing. They said, oh, this is a cheapskate's dream. I didn't know about it. You didn't know about this? They said, Auntie Sandy, welp, I didn't know about the prepaid electricity, and I didn't know about this device that you're talking about. My children are about to get more restricted usage. Oh, Lord, those poor children. I'll send you some information on the device. Get an electrician to install it, though. You don't want to try and be doing that on your own. And yes, you can do prepaid. I know people right here in Grand Cayman who do it, actually. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Sandy, and good morning to your guests if they're still around. I, for one, is very grateful to have CUC, because even though sometimes I don't curse them, but I feel like it, so it's all there in my mind. But I've been to other Caribbean countries where they tell you the electricity is going to go off at a certain time for mostly in the mornings for a certain time, sometime all like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was to a Caribbean country where I was vacationing there, and all showered up, boy, and all shampooed up, and hair and everything. Bram, electricity went off, and this was supposed to be in a nice hotel, and they put the notice under the door. Must have been early that morning. And then I was even more grateful for CUC. I said, oops, they tell you when it's going to go off 8 days ahead, unless it's a serious accident or some emergency, or somebody ran into a pole in the vicinity or something like that. So I'm grateful for CUC. And we could be a whole lot worse off. It could be like some of those Caribbean countries, a lot of them, even sometimes in Jamaica, there's a whole lot bigger population, everything else, but definitely in Cuba and some of those smaller islands. So I'm grateful for them. And we just learned so many things from them just now and learned so many things from you. Thank you, Sandy, for all of that information that you gathers and have on your guests. And thank you again. You have a good day.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thanks too. All right, folks, 9362626. And that's why we bring, guests on. Thank you for acknowledging that caller, like CUC, like, anybody that wants to come on really and give us information. I think that, power, knowledge is power. And so, we grow and we learn more by having these people on. Carol says the mini split units are cheaper to use than central units. And I think, again, it certainly depends on how you are utilizing them, right? So, I could see where definitely, I think that if I went to a split unit, there are probably other reasons why I wouldn't do it. But if I were really desperate and I went to a split unit, it would make sense because of the way that the house is designed. Every night, I'm literally cooling 5 rooms when only 1 room is in use. So if we had a split unit system, every room would have its own AC unit. Like right now, I'm in my office, but I'm cooling 3 other rooms that nobody's in. You understand what I'm saying? So I would literally only be cooling this couple, I don't know what the square footage is in a room, 12 by whatever room. So it does make a difference because, again, in most instances, you're only cooling the immediate area that you're in. Brenda says, how about, I don't know if this person's trying to call the show. Good morning. Are you trying to call the program? Morning. Oh, you have to call the show, 936-2626. Okay, no problem. All right, dear. Ms. Brenda says, how about CUC considering paying their own costs instead of passing it to us? That's not how business works. How would you? I don't even understand that. I'm confused by that. When you're in business, are your costs not passed on to the consumer? The only difference is you don't know that. Oh, Lord. I don't even know how to break that one down. You're in the construction business. Your cost, which includes it's called COG, cost of goods, right? Can be material cost, staffing cost, operational cost, insurance, whatever. All of that is passed on. That's the only way you can actually make a profit. If you don't pass on your cost, then you're not in the business of being in business. You're an NPO, you're a nonprofit organization. I'm sorry, Ms. Brenda, but I can't think of a single for-profit business where they're not passing on their costs. Of course they are. The cost of everything. So you want them to pay for fuel that you're using and you don't pay for fuel that you're using? Pay for their fuel and duty on the fuel? But my brain can't quite comprehend how that makes any sense. Good morning, caller.
Morning. Simply put, CUC itemizes everything and other business.
Well, that's transparency. Other business don't tell you, but of course, every business is doing it. You think that a business is paying staff and not passing that cost on to you? That they're buying material and investing in their infrastructure and that cost isn't passed on to you? Of course it is.
Look, what a lot of people complain about is the fuel factor, right? But like CUC has said, made very clear, they just pass that. They don't mark that up. That element doesn't get marked. It's just passed on. But so why is the cost of fuel going up? If anyone has noticed, there is a certain country in the region that when their president got elected, he said that if elected on the first day, he was going to undo what a previous president has done regarding fracking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you can have whatever opinion you want to have about the pros and cons of fossil fuel and so forth. But those actions affect the price. And it is governments making decisions that are that war is a decision of government that's driving up the cost of fuel. They decide we don't want to use fossil fuel, we want to move away from it. So what they've done, what in the US, what they've done is they've said, we're not going to lease public lands to the fuel companies anymore. So now you have less future supply. There are regulations on building refineries that make it more expensive. They don't have enough, depending on the time of the year it is. A lot of things are affecting fossil fuels. But none of that has anything to do with CUC at all. It's not CUC you should be yelling at. It's stupid politicians you need to be yelling at.
And listen, if you think the politicians have as much impact on fuel that they want you to believe, that's not true either. That's a facade. Listen, I was talking to a local politician yesterday, right? And we all love Miss Mia Motley, okay? Because she speaks with passion and fever in her voice. That's not the word I'm looking for. Fever, whatever the word is, right? Passionate. And when we listen, we're like, yes, she's for the people and she's going to get stuff done and she's going to force it. And I say, where's the proof? Show me where she has stopped anybody from doing anything to her people and where her people are better off for it, where they have better road infrastructure. They have better, jobs for their own. Show it to me. It's one thing. I mean, yeah, she speaks eloquently and I love listening to her and her wonderful accent. But let me look at the state of affairs in her country. This is what I always tell you. Just Mout can say anything. Just because politicians promise you the world doesn't mean that they even have the power to deliver. We as people have to be more sensible and have the ability, as the Bible says, a discerning spirit to pull sense from nonsense. How many MPs have promised you a moratorium on work permits? No more work permits. And when they get in there, you don't hear another word about it because they know that was a fake promise. They cannot do that for more reasons than one. On a positive note this morning, I got some positive news about the economy. The U.S. consumer prices rose just 3% in the year through June, which is a considerable cool down from the peak of almost 11+% last summer. So new inflation data is showing that things are getting better. I know the Fed's looking at this going, whew, did all of our increases worked? Because they've been trying to tame rapid price increases for the past 16 months. And that's why our interest rates kept going through the roof. Well, folks, maybe. Sounds like a little bit of good news. Don't get too overexcited. But
that's until politicians decide that they need to spend trillions again and then start printing money. That comes with inflation. You remember all the trillions that was given away after during and after the lockdown? That's where our inflation is coming from. And the inefficiencies that were created in the supply chain, disruptions that were created in the supply chain, is causing the inflation. People need to prepare themselves for winter. Okay?
And we're not talking about the literal winter.
No. We're talking about economic winter. And what the problem is politicians doing foolishness. Okay? And we're paying the price for the locking down and the handing out of the trillions of dollars. This is it. It could get worse if we go into a world war. Hopefully that doesn't occur. But if it does, it's going to get messy. And what we need to think about as a country is how can we save on whatever it is? How can we provide the things that we literally need, are the basics, so that if the world goes into a war, that we're able to somehow sustain ourselves, basically.
All right, here's my new challenge, Denny. I have a challenge on the table, and I'll keep this one in place till Friday. No one has yet met the challenge. For anybody who can show me that their usage went down from last month to this month, and they still paid more for their bill. $150 will go towards your CUC bill if you can show me a bill that demonstrates that. Okay. Challenge number 2, another $150. I got to start increasing these amounts because I know y'all can't meet these challenges. Show me any business. Cameron says, oh, we're being hoodwinked, we're being played. Show me any business that you do not pay the cost of operating. Miss Brenda says, well, if you look at the bill, you see everything that we're paying for. That's highway robbery. You only know that because they break it down for you. Every business in the world passes on their cost.
What does that person mean by we're being hoodwinked?
We're being played? Ask Cameron. Yeah. He says, I understand your position, but you know that we're being played.
No, but that's just a conclusion. That's not demonstrating that view.
Oh, maybe he's referring to the politicians. Maybe you can clarify that. But yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes I believe that y'all do not listen for 1 second. Dean says CIG needs to buy back the grid and put a cap on what CUC charges per kilowatt annually and look into where CUC buys their fuel. Dean,
listen,
have you been listening? Hold on, Denny. Hold on.
Power in the country.
Dean, have you been listening to the show?
CUC started running.
Hello? Thank you. Have you been listening to the program? You want government to run your electricity company? It's only then you'd have power outages. Government is not good at running very much. That's why I don't want them in my affairs and I don't want them in my business. Government must run CUC, must buy back the grid. Are you kidding?
Let me ask
Jeez and peace.
Sandra.
Talk about bureaucracy and red tape. Only then would you see it.
It has been said that the off-reg needs to begin accepting the request for proposal in order for the solar to be put in place.
Miss Brenda doesn't seem to understand it. She says, Sandra, if I was running a business, I'd have to pay for my products as well as the duty, if applicable, then price my product before I pass it on to my customers. Again, why are we paying for what they're importing and the duty as well? Then we pay the usage.
Well, the duty is the
that's
duty
part
on
of
fuel. CUC is not marking that up at all.
Exactly, that's a pass through, so you're still paying it.
But somebody is paying duty costs. A duty element does apply to fuel, but it does not go to CUC. It goes to government.
The government, exactly. CUC is not making that money. And I don't understand the different analogy. If you buy your product, right? You mark up your product based on what you paid for it. If you know how to operate a business, the duty and everything else that it costs to run your business, including your CUC bill. So when you look at pricing your goods, you're not just looking at, okay, I bought this item for $5. I'm going to look at this specific item. You mark it up based on your overall operational cost, staff, Lord have mercy.
That is what the fuel companies do as well. Because if you say to the fuel companies, you know what, we're not going to approve the.
How would you ever be profitable? I think this is a fundamental lack of business 101. How can you operate and set up a business, right? If you're saying to me that you're only buying a product and reselling that product and you're only making money on what that product costs you, no, you're not. You are charging, or you should be, maybe that's why some of y'all don't have successful businesses. You're charging to cover your overall cost of doing business. And the cost of doing business is everything from your rental that you pay if you have a retail store, your CUC bill, your water bill, your staff. At the end of the day, when you look at your expense column versus what you make, if the expenses outweigh what you make, you need to close your doors because you don't have a profitable business.
So you're telling us that we paid for your vacation recently? Yes, it has to cover all your expenses. Yes.
Jim says, Sandy, that's exactly why people aren't in business for themselves or have successful businesses. I mean, it seems fundamental to me, but I guess there is something that definitely is being missed. When you have businesses that have heavy equipment, right? Whether it's like, some of the businesses, like, I don't know what they're called. They deliver tables and chairs and whatever. They pay for the tables and the chairs. They pay for all of the cost of all of that. Equipment is factored into what they charge you for their services.
Right.
So yes, you pay their costs, Miss Brenda. That is every single business. The only business that might not happen with is government. That's why they're always in the red. But even government, there's some departments that make up for other entities that are in the red. Customs makes money for everybody. It all goes into the general business coffers. So you have to figure out what is the cost of you operating your business and what you should be charging based on that. So yeah, you do pay for it, but you do it with every single business. There's no business that you don't do it with. Unless they're an NPO and they don't make a profit and they don't care to make a profit.
And if government wants to help the public, what they could do is they can have off-reg actually address the issue of bringing the request for proposal forward so that the solar power can come online
quicker.
And we could receive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Somebody says, good God, government to run CUC, WTF. I can't even.
Government
I can't even.
CUC.
And there's a reason why they got out of the business. I can't fathom. I cannot fathom allowing government to run much more of anything. They just struggle with what they have already.
Where your father's garage was on Walker's Road,
mm-hmm.
right next to that, where the Mike's Esso is currently,
mm-hmm.
is where CUC, the power plant used to be, right? CUC
mm-hmm.
bought it and it was relocated. So government used to run the power.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that there was a big difference between the power back then, the quality of service back then, and what it is now. You don't want to go to government running because the reasons why government do things have nothing to do with logic in many instances.
or good business practices either.
Yeah.
My God, it's just I cannot I can't understand. The only thing that government does is they have the power to bail themselves out when they get it wrong, which is still you paying for it, by the way.
And
you pay for the bailouts.
That is called inflation.
Oh my Lord. I can't believe my ears this morning. It just demonstrates that we've got a long way to go, folks. We really have a long way to go. There's an article here in The Guardian from September 2021 says UK energy suppliers publicly owned crises. And it's talking about that in Germany, France, and even the US, most energy is supplied by the state and such challenges are more easily faced. They're talking about the crises of energy supply. Government ministers say that they're not going to bail out badly run energy supply companies with a poor business model. They say bankruptcy is a natural part of business and companies must be allowed to fail. Which is true.
Well,
that's true.
But in Germany, and some places, the thing is Germany, they have opted to burn wood instead of running their nuclear plants, which doesn't make sense to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
The only
so they say here that even though electricity they see as a necessity, not an ordinary consumer product, that we expect our government and local authorities to deal with the problem because they have unavoidable responsibility to ensure a reliable service. And they go on to say the real issue here is the business model of the energy sector as a whole, not those of individual companies. So even them are struggling with.
No entity avoids issues more than government.
You mean no entity ignores issues more than government?
Yes. Sorry, that's what I meant.
There is a difference.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy. I'm going to give you guys this article because, again, I think that one of the things that we have to do is we have to read and understand what happens elsewhere in the world. A lot of things are not unique to us, but I think you guys would be surprised on how many things we actually get pretty right, how many things we're actually doing really, really well compared to other places in the world, even some other much larger, bigger countries with more resources. They struggle at a very different scale with a lot of different things. You know, they're talking about across Europe, all these companies not reinvesting a lot of their profits or their money, you know, into back into the company. And that's causing all sorts of issues.
Yes, but Sandra, listen. This is the problem that the petroleum industry has. On one hand, you have politicians saying, we have climate change, we need to get rid of fossil fuel, and so forth, so we want to reduce that. Well, if you're saying to a company, we want to reduce your services as time go on, how do you then turn around and say, we have this demand that we need to meet, so you need to continue to invest in the infrastructure of your refineries so that you can provide this product? Those CEOs have to go to the shareholders and say, the government wants to get rid of us, but they want us to invest. I'm not sure whether you're going to get your money back. Do you think we should invest? It's not going to work. What they need to do is, if they want to move away from fossil fuel, build whatever the infrastructure and the fuel is that they want, and let's just move. But this idea of we're going to penalize you because we don't like fossil fuel, even though we don't have a replacement yet, that's stupid. That's an example of how government doesn't work. If government wants you to move to a different technology, then invest in that technology. Let's get the research done. Let's get the fuel online and available to the world, so we could just move on.
All right, my dear. That's all we got for today. Thank y'all. Classroom full, and I hope y'all learned something. We will be back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Thursday. Let me tell you who's coming up in terms of guests. Somebody messaged me this morning. They said, Sandy, when are you going to address this young lady? So we have Recover that's going to come on from 8:30 until 9. So this young lady, Carla Scott, was all over social media this morning. So I tell you what, let's address Carla first, get her done within the first hour. And then after that, we can have our guests on, and then we'll have some following discussions after that as well. All right, fair enough. You guys have a fantastic day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.